The Gospel of Thomas is 114 sayings of Jesus. The Gospel of Thomas. These are the hidden words that the living Jesus spoke. And Didymus Judas Thomas wrote him down. 1. And he said, whoever finds the meaning of these words will not taste death. Quote. 2. Jesus says, 1. The one who seeks should not cease seeking until he finds. 2. And when he finds, he will be dismayed. 3. And when he is dismayed, he will be astonished. 4. And he will be king over the all. 3. Jesus says, 1. If those who lead you say to you, look, the kingdom is in the sky, then the birds of the sky will precede you. 2. If they say to you, it is in the sea, then the fishes will precede you. 3. Rather, the kingdom is inside of you and outside of you. 4. When you come to know yourselves, then you will be known, and you will realize that you are the children of the living Father. 5. But if you do not come to know yourselves, then you exist in poverty, and you are poverty. 4. Jesus says, 1. The person old in his days will not hesitate to ask a child 7 days old about the place of life, and he will live. 2. For many who are first will become last. 3. And they will become a single one. 5. Jesus says, 1. Come to know what is in front of you, and that which is hidden from you will become clear to you. 2. For there is nothing hidden that will not become manifest. 6. 1. His disciples questioned him, and they said to him, do you want us to fast? And how should we pray and give alms? And what diet should we observe? 2. Jesus says, do not lie. 3. And do not do what you hate. 4. For everything is disclosed in view of less than the truth greater than. 5. For there is nothing hidden that will not become revealed. 6. And there is nothing covered that will remain undisclosed. 7. Jesus says, 1. Blessed is the lion that a person will eat and the lion will become human. 2. An anathema is the person whom a lion will eat and the lion will become human. 8. 1. And he says, the human being is like a sensible fisherman who cast his net into the sea and drew it up from the sea filled with little fish. 2. Among them the sensible fisherman found a large, fine fish. 3. He threw all the little fish back into the sea, and he chose the large fish effortlessly. 4. Whoever has ears to hear should hear. 9. Jesus says, 1. Look, a sower went out. He filled his hands with seeds, and he scattered them. 2. Some fell on the path, and the birds came and pecked them up. 3. Others fell on the rock, and did not take root in the soil, and they did not put forth ears. 4. And others fell among the thorns, they choked the seeds, and worms ate them. 5. And others fell on good soil, and it produced good fruit. It yielded 60 per measure and 120 per measure. 10. Jesus says, I have cast fire upon the world, and see, I am guarding it until it blazes. 11. Jesus says, 1. This heaven will pass away, and the heaven above it will pass away. 2. And the dead are not alive, and the living will not die. 3. In the days when you consumed what was dead, you made it alive. When you are in the light, what will you do? 4. On the day when you were one, you became two. But when you become two, what will you do? 12. 1. The disciples said to Jesus, we know that you will depart from us. Who, then, will rule over us? 2. Jesus said to them, no matter where you came from, you should go to James the just, for whose sake heaven and earth came into being. 13. 1. Jesus said to his disciples, compare me, and tell me whom I am like. Quote. 2. Simon Peter said to him, you are like a just messenger. 3. Matthew said to him, you are like an, especially, wise philosopher. 4. Thomas said to him, Teacher, my mouth cannot bear at all to say whom you are like. 5. Jesus said, I am not your teacher. For you have drunk, you have become intoxicated at the bubbling spring that I have measured out. 6. And he took him, and withdrew, and he said 3 words to him. 7. But when Thomas came back to his companions, they asked him, what did Jesus say to you? 8. Thomas said to them, if I tell you one of the words he said to me, you will pick up stones and throw them at me, and fire will come out of the stones, and burn you up. 14. Jesus said to them, 1. If you fast, you will bring forth sin for yourselves. 2. And if you pray, you will be condemned. 3. And if you give alms, you will do harm to your spirits. 4. And if you go into any land and wander from place to place, and, if they take you in, then, eat what they will set before you. Heal the sick among them. 5. For what goes into your mouth will not defile you. Rather, what comes out of your mouth will defile you. 15. Jesus says, when you see one who is not born of woman, fall on your face, and worship him. That one is your father. 16. Jesus says, 1. Perhaps people think that I have come to cast peace upon the earth. 2. But they do not know that I have come to cast dissension upon the earth, fire, sword, war. 3. For there will be 5 in one house. There will be 3 against 2 and 2 against 3, father against son and son against father. 4. And they will stand as solitary ones. 17. Jesus says, I will give you what no eye has seen, and what no ear has heard, and what no hand has touched, and what has not occurred to the human mind. 18. 1. The disciples said to Jesus, tell us how our end will be. 2. Jesus said, have you already discovered the beginning that you are now asking about the end? For where the beginning is, there the end will be too. 3. Blessed is he who will stand at the beginning, and he will know the end, and he will not taste death. 19. Jesus says, 1. Blessed is he who was, before he came into being. 2. If you become disciples of mine, and listen to my words, these stones will serve you. 3. For you have 5 trees in paradise that do not change during summer and winter, and their leaves do not fall. 4. Whoever comes to know them will not taste death. 21. The disciples said to Jesus, tell us whom the kingdom of heaven is like. Quote, 2. He said to them, it is like a mustard seed. 3. Less than it, greater than is the smallest of all seeds. 4. But when it falls on cultivated soil, it produces a large branch, and becomes shelter for the birds of the sky. 21. 1. Mary said to Jesus, whom are your disciples like? 2. He said, they are like servants who are entrusted with a field that is not theirs. 3. When the owners of the field arrive, they will say, let us have our field. 4. But they are naked in their presence so as to let them have it, and thus, to give them their field. 5. That is why I say, when the master of the house learns that the thief is about to come, he will be on guard before he comes, and will not let him break into his house, his domain, to carry away his possessions. 6. But you, be on guard against the world. 7. Gird your loins with great strength, so that the robbers will not find a way to get to you. 8. For the necessities for which you wait, with longing, will be found. 9. There ought to be a wise person among you. 10. When the fruit was ripe, he came quickly with his sickle in his hand, and he harvested it. 11. Whoever has ears to hear should hear. 22. 1. Jesus saw infants being suckled. 2. He said to his disciples, these little ones being suckled are like those who enter the kingdom. 3. They said to him, then will we enter the kingdom as little ones. 4. Jesus said to them,
if you're looking for a little business to start this year,
when you make the two into one, and when you make the inside like the outside and the outside like the inside and the above like the below. 5. That is, to make the male and the female into a single one, so that the male will not be male and the female will not be female. 6. And when you make eyes instead of an eye and a hand instead of a hand and a foot instead of a foot, an image instead of an image. 7. Then you will enter the kingdom. 23. Jesus says, 1. I will choose you, 1 from 1,000 and 2 from 10,000. 2. And they will stand as a single one. 24. 1. His disciples said, show us the place where you are, because it is necessary for us to seek it. 2. He said to them, whoever has ears should hear. 3. Light exists inside a person of light, and he shines on the whole world. If he does not shine, there is darkness. 25. Jesus says, 1. Love your brother like your life. 2. Protect him like the apple of your eye. 26. Jesus says, 1. You see the splinter that is in your brother's eye, but you do not see the beam that is in your own eye. 2. When you remove the beam from your own eye, then you will see clearly enough to remove the splinter from your brother's eye. 27. 1. If you do not abstain from the world, you will not find the kingdom. 2. If you do not make the Sabbath into a Sabbath, you will not see the Father. 28. Jesus says, 1. I stood in the middle of the world, and in flesh I appeared to them. 2. I found all of them drunk. None of them did I find thirsty. 3. And my soul ached for the children of humanity, because they are blind in their heart, and they cannot see, for they came into the world empty, and they also seek to depart from the world empty. 4. But now they are drunk. But when they shake off their wine, then they will change their mind. 29. Jesus says, 1. If the flesh came into being because of the Spirit, it is a wonder. 2. But if the Spirit came into being because of the body, it is a wonder of wonders. 3. Yet I marvel at how this great wealth has taken up residence in this poverty. 30. Jesus says, 1. Where there are 3 gods, they are gods. 2. Where there are 2 or 1, I am with him. 31. Jesus says, 1. No prophet is accepted in his own village. 2. A physician does not heal those who know him. 32. Jesus says, a city built upon a high mountain, and fortified cannot fall, nor can it be hidden. 33. Jesus says, 1. What you will hear with your ear, with the other ear, proclaim from your rooftops. 2. For no one lights a lamp, and puts it under a bushel, nor does he put it in a hidden place. 3. Rather, he puts it on a lampstand, so that everyone who comes in and goes out will see its light. 34. Jesus says, if a blind person leads a blind person, both will fall into a pit. 35. Jesus says, 1. It is not possible for someone to enter the house of a strong person, and take it by force unless he binds his hands. 2. Then he will loot his house. 36. Jesus says, do not worry from morning to evening and from evening to morning about what you will wear. 37. 1. His disciples said, when will you appear to us, and when will we see you? Quote, 2. Jesus said, when you undress without being ashamed and take your clothes, and put them under your feet like little children, and trample on them. 3. Then you will see the Son of the Living One, and you will not be afraid. 38. Jesus says, 1. Many times have you desired to hear these words, these that I am speaking to you, and you have no one else from whom to hear them. 2. There will be days when you will seek me, and you will not find me. 39. Jesus says, 1. The Pharisees and the scribes have received the keys of knowledge, but they have hidden them. 2. Neither have they entered, nor have they allowed to enter those who wish to. 3. You, however, be as shrewd as serpents and as innocent as doves. 40. Jesus says, 1. A grapevine was planted outside the vineyard of the Father. 2. And since it is not supported, it will be pulled up by its roots, and will perish. 41. Jesus says, 1. Whoever has something in his hand, something more, will be given to him. 2. And whoever has nothing, even the little he has will be taken from him. 42. Jesus says, become passers-by. 43. 1. His disciples said to him, who are you to say this to us? 2. Do you not realize from what I say to you who I am? 3. But you have become like the Jews. They love the tree, but they hate its fruit. Or they love the fruit, but they hate the tree. 44. Jesus says, 1. Whoever blasphemes against the Father, it will be forgiven him. 2. And whoever blasphemes against the Son, it will be forgiven him. 3. But whoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit, it will not be forgiven him, neither on earth nor in heaven. 45. Jesus says, 1. Grapes are not harvested from thorns, nor are figs picked from thistles, for they do not produce fruit. 2. A good person brings forth good from his treasure. 3. A bad person brings forth evil from the bad treasure that is in his heart, and, in fact, he speaks evil. 4. For out of the abundance of the heart he brings forth evil. 46. Jesus says, 1. From Adam to John the Baptist, among those born of women there is no one who surpasses John the Baptist, so that his, i.e., John's, eyes need not be downcast. 2. But I have also said, whoever among you becomes little will know the kingdom, and will surpass John. 47. Jesus says, 1. It is impossible for a person to mount 2 horses and to stretch 2 bows. 2. And it is impossible for a servant to serve 2 masters. Else he will honor the one and insult the other. 3. No person drinks old wine and immediately desires to drink new wine. 4. And new wine is not put into old wineskins, so that they do not burst, nor is old wine put into a new wineskin, so that it does not spoil it. 5. An old patch is not sewn onto a new garment, because a tear will result. 48. Jesus says, if 2 make peace with one another in one and the same house, then they will say to the mountain, move away, and it will move away. 49, Jesus says, 1. Blessed are the solitary ones, the elect. For you will find the kingdom. 2. For you come from it, and will return to it. 50, Jesus says, 1. If they say to you, where do you come from? Then, say to them, we have come from the light, the place where the light has come into being by itself, has established itself, and has appeared in their image. 2. If they say to you, is it you? Then, say, we are his children, and we are the elect of the living Father. 3. If they ask you, what is the sign of your Father among you? Then, say to them, it is movement and repose. 51, 1. His disciples said to him, when will the less than resurrection greater than of the dead take place, and when will the new world come? Quote, 2. He said to them, that resurrection, which you are awaiting has already come, but you do not recognize it. 52, 1. His disciples said to him, 24 prophets have spoken in Israel, and all of them have spoken through you. Quote, 2. He said to them, you have pushed away the living one from yourselves, and you have begun to speak of those who are dead. 53, 1. His disciples said to him, is circumcision beneficial or not? Quote, 2. He said to them, if it were beneficial, their father would beget them circumcised from their mother. 3. But the true circumcision in the Spirit has prevailed over everything. 54, Jesus says, blessed are the poor, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to you. 55, Jesus says, 1. Whoever does not hate his father and his mother cannot become a disciple of mine. 2. And whoever does not hate his brothers and his sisters, and will not take up his cross as I do, will not be worthy of me. 56, Jesus says, whoever has come to know the world has found a corpse. And whoever has found this corpse, of him the world is not worthy. 57, Jesus says, 1. The kingdom of the Father is like a person who had good seed. 2. His enemy came by night. He sowed darnel among the good seed. 3. The person did not allow the servants to pull up the darnel. He said to them, lest you go to pull up the darnel, and then pull up the wheat along with it. 4. For on the day of the harvest the darnel will be apparent, and it will be pulled up and burned. 58. Jesus says, blessed is the person who has struggled. He has found life. 59. Jesus says, look for the living one while you are alive, so that you will not die, and then seek to see him. And you will not be able to see him. 60. 1. Less than he saw greater than a Samaritan who was trying to steal a lamb while he was on his way to Judea. 2. He said to his disciples, that person is stalking the lamb. 3. They said to him, so that he may kill it and eat it. 4. He said to them, as long as it is alive he will not eat it, but only when he has killed it, and it has become a corpse. 5. They said to him, otherwise he cannot do it. 6. He said to them, you, too, look for a place for your repose so that you may not become a corpse, and get eaten. 61, 1. Jesus said, 2 will rest on a bed. The one will die, the other will live. Quote, 2. Salome said, so, who are you, man? You have gotten a place on my couch as a less than stranger greater than, and you have eaten from my table. 3. Jesus said to her, I am he who comes from the one who is always the same. I was given some of that which is my Father's. 4. I am your disciple. 5. Therefore I say, if someone becomes less than like greater than God, he will become full of light. But if he becomes one, separated from God, he will become full of darkness. 62. Jesus says, 1. I tell my mysteries to those who are worthy of my mysteries. 2. Whatever your right hand does, your left hand should not know what it is doing. 63. Jesus says, 1. There was a rich person who had many possessions. 2. He said, I will use my possessions so that I might sow, reap, plant, and fill my storehouses with fruit so that I will not lack anything. 3. This was what he was thinking in his heart. And in that night he died. 4. Whoever has ears should hear. 64. Jesus says, 1. A person had guests. And when he had prepared the dinner, he sent his servant, so that he might invite the guests. 2. He came to the first, and said to him, my master invites you. 3. He said, I have bills for some merchants. They are coming to me this evening. I will go, and give instructions to them. Excuse me from the dinner. 4. He came to another, and said to him, my master has invited you. 5. He said to him, I have bought a house, and I have been called away for a day. I will not have time. 6. He went to another, and said to him, My master invites you. 7. He said to him, My friend is going to marry, and I am the one who is going to prepare the meal. I will not be able to come. Excuse me from the dinner. 8. He came up to another, and said to him, My master invites you. 9. He said to him, I have bought a village. Since I am going to collect the rent, I will not be able to come. Excuse me. 10. The servant went away. He said to his master, Those whom you invited to the dinner have asked to be excused. 11. The master said to his servant, Go out on the roads. Bring back whomever you find, so that they might have dinner. 12. Dealers and merchants will not enter the places of my father. 65. He said, 1. A usurer owned a vineyard. He gave it to some farmers so that they would work it, and he might receive its fruit from them. 2. He sent his servant so that the farmers might give him the fruit of the vineyard. 3. They seized his servant, beat him, and almost killed him. The servant went back and told his master. 4. His master said, Perhaps less than they greater than did not recognize less than him greater than. 5. He sent another servant, and the farmers beat that other one as well. 6. Then the master sent his son, and said, Perhaps they will show respect for my son. 7. But those farmers, since they knew that he was the heir of the vineyard, seized him, and killed him. 8. Whoever has ears should hear. 66. Jesus says, Show me the stone that the builders have rejected. It is the cornerstone. 67. Jesus says, Whoever knows all, if he is lacking one thing, he is already lacking everything. 68. Jesus says, 1. Blessed are you whenever they hate you and persecute you. 2. But they themselves will find no place there where they have persecuted you. 69. Jesus says, 1. Blessed are those who have been persecuted in their heart. They are the ones who have truly come to know the Father. 2. Blessed are those who suffer from hunger so that the belly of the one who wishes it will be satisfied. 70. Jesus says, 1. If you bring it into being within you, then that which you have will save you. 2. If you do not have it within you, then that which you do not have within you will kill you. 71. Jesus says, I will destroy this house, and no one will be able to build it again. 72. 1. A person said to him, Tell my brothers that they have to divide my father's possessions with me. Quote, 2. He said to him, Man, who has made me a divider? 3. He turned to his disciples, and said to them, I am not a divider, am I? 73. Jesus says, 1. The harvest is plentiful, but there are few workers. 2. But beg the Lord that he may send workers into the harvest. 74. He said, Lord, there are many around the well, but there is nothing in the less than well greater than. 75. Jesus says, Many are standing before the door, but it is the solitary ones who will enter the wedding hall. 76. Jesus says, 1. The kingdom of the Father is like a merchant who had merchandise and found a pearl. 2. That merchant is prudent. He sold the goods, and bought for himself the pearl alone. 3. You too look for his treasure, which does not perish, and which stays where no moth can reach it to eat it, and no worm destroys it. 77. Jesus says, 1. I am the light that is over all. I am the all came forth out of me, and to me the all has come. 2. Split a piece of wood, I am there. 3. Lift the stone, and you will find me there. 78. Jesus says, 1. Why did you go out to the countryside? To see a reed shaken by the wind. 2. And to see a person dressed in soft clothing, like your kings and your great persons. 3. They are dressed in soft clothing and will not be able to recognize the truth. 79. 1. A woman in the crowd said to him, Hail to the womb that carried you and to the breasts that fed you. 2. He said to her, Hail to those who have heard the word of the Father, and have truly kept it. 3. For there will be days when you will say, Hail to the womb that has not conceived and to the breasts that have not given milk. 80. Jesus says, 1. Whoever has come to know the world has found the dead body. 2. But whoever has found the dead body, of him the world is not worthy. 81. Jesus says, 1. whoever has become rich should be king. 2. And the one who has power should renounce it. 82. Jesus says, 1. The person who is near me is near the fire. 2. And the person who is far from me is far from the kingdom. 83. Jesus says, 1. The images are visible to humanity, but the light within him is hidden in the image. 2. The light of the Father will reveal itself, but his image is hidden by his light. Quote, 84. Jesus says, 1. When you see your likeness you are full of joy. 2. But when you see your likenesses that came into existence before you, they neither die nor become manifest, how much will you bear? Quote, 85. Jesus says, 1. Adam came from a great power and a great wealth. But he did not become worthy of you. 2. For if he had been worthy, then he would not have tasted death. 86. Jesus says, 1. Foxes have their holes and birds have their nest. 2. But the Son of Man has no place to lay his head down, and to rest. 87. Jesus says, 1. Wretched is the body that depends on a body. 2. And wretched is the soul that depends on these two. 88. Jesus says, 1. The messengers and the prophets are coming to you, and they will give you what belongs to you. 2. And you, in turn, give to them what you have in your hands, and say to yourselves, when will they come, and take what belongs to them? 89. Jesus says, 1. Why do you wash the outside of the cup? 2. Do you not understand that the one who created the inside is also the one who created the outside? 90. Jesus says, 1. Come to me, for my yoke is gentle and my lordship is mild. 2. And you will find repose for yourselves. Quote, 91. 1. They said to him, tell us who you are so that we may believe in you. 2. He said to them, you examine the face of sky and earth, but the one who is before you, you have not recognized, and you do not know how to test this opportunity. Quote, 92. Jesus says, 1. Seek and you will find. 2. But the things you asked me about in past times, and what I did not tell you in that day, now I am willing to tell you, but you do not seek them. 93. 1. Do not give what is holy to the dogs, lest they throw it upon the dunghill. 2. Do not throw pearls to swine, lest they turn less than them greater than into mud. 94. Jesus says, 1. The one who seeks will find. 2. The one who knocks, to that one will it be opened. 95. Jesus says, 1. If you have money, do not lend it out at interest. 2. Rather, give it to the one from whom you will not get it back. 96. Jesus says, 1. The kingdom of the Father is like a woman. 2. She took a little bit of yeast. She hid it in dough, and made it into huge loaves of bread. 3. Whoever has ears should hear. 97. Jesus says, 1. The kingdom of the Father is like a woman who is carrying a jar filled with flour. 2. While she was walking on the way, very distant from home, the handle of the jar broke, and the flour leaked out on the path. 3. But she did not know it. She had not noticed a problem. 4. When she reached her house, she put the jar down on the floor, and found it empty. 98. Jesus says, 1. The kingdom of the Father is like a person who wanted to kill a powerful person. 2. He drew the sword in his house, and stabbed it into the wall to test whether his hand would be strong enough. 3. Then he killed the powerful one. 99. 1. The disciples said to him, your brothers and your mother are standing outside. Quote, 2. He said to them, those here, who do the will of my Father, they are my brothers and my mother. 3. They are the ones who will enter the kingdom of my Father. 101. They showed Jesus a gold coin and said to him, Caesar's people demand taxes from us. Quote, 2. He said to them, give Caesar the things that are Caesar's. 3. Give God the things that are God's. 4. And what is mine give me. 101. 1. Whoever does not hate his father and his mother as I do will not be able to be a disciple of mine. 2. And whoever does not love his father and his mother as I do will not be able to be a disciple of mine. 3. For my mother, but my true mother, gave me life. 102. Jesus says, woe to them, the Pharisees, for they are like a dog sleeping in a cattle trough, for it neither eats nor lets the cattle eat. Quote, 103. Jesus says, blessed is the person who knows at which point of the house the robbers are going to enter. so that he may arise to gather together his domain, and gird his loins before they enter. Quote, 104:1, they said to Jesus, Come, let us pray and fast today. 2, Jesus said, What sin is it that I have committed, or wherein have I been overcome? 3, but when the bridegroom comes out of the wedding chamber, then let us fast and pray. Quote, 105, Jesus says, Whoever will come to know father and mother, he will be called son of a whore. 106, Jesus says, 1, when you make the two into one, you will become sons of man. 2, and when you say, mountain, move away, it will move away. Quote, 107, Jesus says, 1, the kingdom is like a shepherd who had 100 sheep. 2, one of them went astray, the largest. He left the 99, and he sought the one until he found it. 3, after he had toiled, he said to the sheep, I love you more than the 99. Single quote, 108, Jesus says, 1, whoever will drink from my mouth will become like me. 2, I myself will become he. 3, and what is hidden will be revealed to him. 109, Jesus says, 1, the kingdom is like a person who has a hidden treasure in his field, of which he knows nothing. 2, and, after he had died, he left it to his son. But the son did not know about it either. He took over that field, and sold it. 3, and the one who had bought it came, and while he was plowing, he found the treasure. He began to lend money at interest to whom he wished. 110, Jesus says, the one who has found the world, and has become wealthy should renounce the world. 111, Jesus says, 1, the heavens will roll up before you, and the earth. 2, and whoever is living from the living one will not see death. 3, does not Jesus say, whoever has found himself, of him the world is not worthy. 112, Jesus says, 1, woe to the flesh that depends on the soul. 2, woe to the soul that depends on the flesh. 113, 1, his disciples said to him, the kingdom, on what day will it come? 2, it will not come by watching, and waiting for it. 3, they will not say, look, here, or, look, there. 4, rather, the kingdom of the Father is spread out upon the earth, and people do not see it. 114, 1, Simon Peter said to them, let Mary go away from us, for women are not worthy of life. Quote, 2, Jesus said, look, I will draw her in so as to make her male, so that she too may become a living male spirit, similar to you. 3, but I say to you, every woman who makes herself male will enter the kingdom of heaven. Quote.
Thank you very much for listening to the Gospel of Thomas. Let's go to the next Gospel. Thank you. Please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, do well to just click on the subscription button just to support us to make the next video. So let's go to the next Gospel. Thank you. Let's go.
The Gospel of Bartholomew, from the Apocryphal New Testament. Gospel, questions, of Saint Bartholomew. One after the resurrection from the dead of our Lord Jesus Christ, Bartholomew came unto the Lord and questioned him, saying, Lord, reveal unto me the mysteries of the heavens. 2, Jesus answered and said unto him, If I put off the body of the flesh, I shall not be able to tell them unto thee. 3 Slavonic, 1 before the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ from the dead, the apostles said, Let us question the Lord. Lord, reveal unto us the wonders. 2 And Jesus said unto them, If I put off the body of the flesh, I cannot tell them unto you. 3 But when he was buried and risen again, they all durst not question him, because it was not to look upon him, but the fullness of his Godhead was seen. 4 But Bartholomew, and century Latin 2. At that time, before the Lord Jesus Christ suffered, all the disciples were gathered together, questioning him and saying, Lord, show us the mystery in the heavens. 2 But Jesus answered and said unto them, If I put not off the body of flesh I cannot tell you. 3 But after that he had suffered and risen again, all the apostles, looking upon him, durst not question him, because his countenance was not as it had been aforetime, but showed forth the fullness of power. Greek. 4 Bartholomew therefore drew near unto the Lord and said, I have a word to speak unto thee, Lord. 5 And Jesus said to him, I know what thou art about to say. Say then what thou wilt, and I will answer thee. 6 And Bartholomew said, Lord, when thou wentest to be hanged upon the cross, I followed thee afar off and saw thee hung upon the cross, and the angels coming down from heaven and worshipping thee. And when there came darkness, 7 I beheld, And I saw thee that thou wast vanished away from the cross, and I heard only a voice in the parts under the earth, and great wailing and gnashing of teeth on a sudden. Tell me, Lord, whither wentest thou from the cross? 8 And Jesus answered and said, Blessed art thou, Bartholomew, my beloved, because thou essayest this mystery, and now will I tell thee all things whatsoever thou askest me. 9 For when I vanished away from the cross, then went I down into Hades, that I might bring up Adam and all them that were with him, according to the supplication of Michael the archangel. 10 Then said Bartholomew, Lord, what was the voice which was heard? 11 Jesus saith unto him, Hades said unto Beliar, As I perceive, a God cometh hither. Slavonic and Latin 2 continue. And the angels cried unto the powers, saying, Remove your gates, ye princes, remove the everlasting doors, for behold the King of glory cometh down. 12 Hades said, Who is the King of glory, that cometh down from heaven unto us? 13 And when I had descended 500 steps, Hades was troubled, saying, I hear the breathing of the Most High, and I cannot endure it. Latin 2. He cometh with great fragrance, and I cannot bear it. 14 But the devil answered and said, Submit not thyself, O Hades, but be strong, for God himself hath not descended upon the earth. 15 But when I had descended yet 500 steps, the angels and the powers cried out, Take hold, remove the doors, for behold the King of glory cometh down. And Hades said, Oh, woe unto me, for I hear the breath of God. Greek, 16-17 And Beliar said unto Hades, Look carefully who it is that, for it is Elias, or Enoch, or one of the prophets that this man seemeth to me to be. But Hades answered Death and said, Not yet are 6,000 years accomplished. And whence are these, O Beliar? For the sum of the number is in mine hands. Slavonic, 16 And the devil said unto Hades, Why affrightest thou me, Hades? It is a prophet, and he hath made himself like unto God. This prophet will we take and bring him hither unto those that think to ascend into heaven. 17 And Hades said, Which of the prophets is it? Show me, is it Enoch the scribe of righteousness? But God hath not suffered him to come down upon the earth before the end of the 6,000 years. Sayest thou that it is Elias, the avenger? But before he cometh not down, what shall I do, whereas the destruction is of God, for surely our end is at hand? For I have the number of the years in mine hands. Greek, 18 Be not troubled, make safe thy gates and strengthen thy bars. Consider, God cometh not down upon the earth. 19 Hades saith unto him, These be no good words that I hear from thee. My belly is rent, and mine inward parts are pained. It cannot be but that God cometh hither. Alas, whither shall I flee before the face of the power of the great King? Suffer me to enter into myself, thyself, Latin, for before, of, Latin, thee was I formed. 20 Then did I enter in and scourged him and bound him with chains that cannot be loosed, and brought forth thence all the patriarchs and came again unto the cross. 21 Bartholomew saith unto him, Latin 2, I saw thee again, hanging upon the cross, and all the dead arising and worshipping thee, and going up again into their sepulchres. Tell me, Lord, who was he whom the angels bare up in their hands, even that man that was very great of stature? Slav, Latin 2, And what spakest thou unto him that he sighed so sore? 22 Jesus answered and said unto him, It was Adam the first formed, for whose sake I came down from heaven upon earth. And I said unto him, I was hung upon the cross for thee and for thy children's sake. And he, when he heard it, groaned and said, So was thy good pleasure, O Lord. 23 Again Bartholomew said, Lord, I saw the angels ascending before Adam and singing praises. 24 But one of the angels which was very great, above the rest, would not ascend up with him, and there was in his hand a sword of fire, and he was looking steadfastly upon thee only. Slav, 25 And all the angels besought him that he would go up with them, but he would not. But when thou didst command him to go up, I beheld a flame of fire issuing out of his hands and going even unto the city of Jerusalem. 26 And Jesus said unto him, Blessed art thou, Bartholomew my beloved, because thou essayest these mysteries. This was one of the angels of vengeance which stand before my Father's throne, and this angel sent he unto me. 27 And for this cause he would not ascend up, because he desired to destroy all the powers of the world. But when I commanded him to ascend up, there went a flame out of his hand and rent asunder the veil of the temple, and parted it in 2 pieces for a witness unto the children of Israel for my passion, because they crucified me. Lat. 1. But the flame which thou sawest issuing out of his hand smote the house of the synagogue of the Jews, for a testimony of me wherein they crucified me. Greek, 28. And when he had thus spoken, he said unto the apostles, Tarry for me in this place, for today a sacrifice is offered in paradise. 29. And Bartholomew answered and said unto Jesus, Lord, what is the sacrifice which is offered in paradise? And Jesus said, There be souls of the righteous which today have departed out of the body and go unto paradise, and unless I be. 30. And Bartholomew said, Lord, how many souls depart out of the world daily? Jesus saith unto him, 30,000. 31. Bartholomew saith unto him, Lord, when thou wast with us teaching the word, didst thou receive the sacrifices in paradise? Jesus answered and said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, my beloved, that I both taught the word with you and continually sat with my Father, and received the sacrifices in paradise every day. 32. Bartholomew answered and said unto him, Lord, if 30,000 souls depart out of the world every day, how many souls out of them are found righteous? Jesus saith unto him, Hardly 53, my beloved. 33. Again Bartholomew saith, And how do 3 only enter into paradise? Jesus saith unto him, The 53 enter into paradise or are laid up in Abraham's bosom, but the others go into the place of the resurrection, for the 3 are not like unto the 50. 34. Bartholomew saith unto him, Lord, how many souls above the number are born into the world daily? Jesus saith unto him, 1 soul only is born above the number of them that depart. 30. And century, Latin 1. Bartholomew said, How many are the souls which depart out of the body every day? Jesus said, Verily I say unto thee, 12,863 souls depart out of the body every day. 35. And when he had said this he gave them the peace, and vanished away from them. 2. 1. Now the apostles were in the place, cherubim, Shelterah, Critta, with Mary. 2. And Bartholomew came and said unto Peter and Andrew and John, Let us ask her that is highly favored how she conceived the incomprehensible, or how she bare him that cannot be carried, or how she brought forth so much greatness. But they doubted to ask her. 3. Bartholomew therefore said unto Peter, Thou that art the chief, and my teacher, draw near and ask her. But Peter said to John, Thou art a virgin and undefiled, and beloved, and thou must ask her. 4. And as they all doubted and disputed, Bartholomew came near unto her with a cheerful countenance and said to her, Thou that art highly favored, the tabernacle of the Most High, unblemished we, even all the apostles, ask thee, or all the apostles have sent me to ask thee, to tell us how thou didst conceive the incomprehensible, or how thou didst bear him that cannot be. 5. But Mary said unto them, Ask me not, or do ye indeed ask me, concerning this mystery? If I should begin to tell you, fire will issue forth out of my mouth and consume all the world. 6. But they continued yet the more to ask her. And she, for she could not refuse to hear the apostles, said, Let us stand up in prayer. 7. And the apostles stood behind Mary. But she said unto Peter, Peter, thou chief, thou great pillar, standest thou behind us? Said not our Lord, The head of the man is Christ. Now therefore stand ye before me and pray. 8. But they said unto her, In thee did the Lord set his tabernacle, and it was his good pleasure that thou shouldest contain him, and thou oughtest to be the leader in the prayer. To go with us too. 9. But she said unto them, Ye are shining stars, and as the prophet said, I did lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence shall come mine help? Ye, therefore, are the hills, and it behoveth you to pray. 10. The apostles say unto her, Thou oughtest to pray, thou art the mother of the heavenly King. 11. Mary saith unto them, In your likeness did God form the sparrows, and sent them forth into the four corners of the world. 12. But they say unto her, He that is scarce contained by the 13. Then Mary stood up before them and spread out her hands toward the heaven and began to speak thus. Elphuazarethra chabum nemioth melitho thrabutha mithnanos chemiath arura maradon ellison marmiadon seption hezabutha enuna saktinos athor belilam ophiath abo krazar. This is the reading of one Greek copy. The others and the Slavonic have many differences as in all such cases. But as the original words assuming them to have once had a meaning are hopelessly corrupted, the matter is not of importance, which is in the Greek tongue, Hebrew, Slav. O God, the exceeding great and all-wise and King of the worlds, ages, that art not to be described, the ineffable, that didst establish the greatness of the heavens and all things by a word, that out of darkness, or the unknown, didst constitute and fasten together the poles of heaven in harmony, didst bring into shape the matter that was in confusion, didst bring into order the things that were without order, didst part the misty darkness from the light, didst establish in one place the foundations of the waters, thou that makest the beings of the air to tremble, and art the fear of them that are on, or under, the earth, that didst settle the earth and not suffer it to perish, and filled it, which is the nourisher of all things, with showers of blessing. Son of the Father, thou, whom the seven heavens hardly contained, but who wast well pleased to be contained without pain in me, thou that art thyself the full word of the Father in whom all things came to be. Give glory to thine exceeding great name, and bid me to speak before thy holy. 14 And when she had ended the prayer she began to say unto them, Let us sit down upon the ground, and come thou, Peter the chief, and sit on my right hand, and put thy left hand beneath mine armpit, and thou, Andrew, do so on my left hand, and thou, John, the virgin, hold together my bosom, and thou, Bartholomew, set thy knees against my back and hold my shoulders, lest when I begin to speak my bones be loosed one from another. 15 And when they had so done she began to say, When I abode in the temple of God and received my food from an angel, on a certain day there appeared unto me one in the likeness of an angel, but his face was incomprehensible, and he had not in his hand bread or a cup, as did the angel which came to me aforetime. 16 And straightway the robe, veil, of the temple was rent, and there was a very great earthquake, and I fell upon the earth, for I was not able to endure the sight of him. 17 But he put his hand beneath me and raised me up, and I looked up into heaven, and there came a cloud of dew and sprinkled me from the head to the feet, and he wiped me with his robe. 18 And said unto me, Hail, thou that art highly favored, the chosen vessel, grace inexhaustible. And he smote his garment upon the right hand, and there came a very great loaf, and he set it upon the altar of the temple, and did eat of it first himself, and gave unto me also. 19 And again he smote his garment upon the left hand, and there came a very great cup full of wine, and he set it upon the altar of the temple, and did drink of it first himself, and gave also unto me. And I beheld and saw the bread and the cup whole as they were. 20 And he said unto me, Yet 3 years, and I will send my word unto thee, and then shalt conceive a son, and through him shall the whole creation be saved. Peace be unto. 21 And when he had so said he vanished away from mine eyes, and the temple was restored as it had been before. 22 And as she was saying this, fire issued out of her mouth, and the world was at the point to come to an end, but Jesus appeared quickly, lat. 2 And laid his hand upon her mouth, and said unto Mary, Utter not this mystery, or this day my whole creation will come to an end, lat. 2 And the flame from her mouth ceased. And the apostles were taken with fear lest haply the Lord should be wroth with them. 3 1 And he departed with them unto the Mount Moriah, lat. 2 Mambre, and sat in the midst of them. 2 But they doubted to question him, being afraid. 3 And Jesus answered and said unto them, Ask me what ye will that I should teach you, and I will show it you. For yet 7 days, and I ascend unto my Father, and I shall no more be seen of you in this likeness. 4 But they, yet doubting, said unto him, Lord, show us the deep abyss, according unto thy promise. 5 And Jesus said unto them, It is not good, lat. 2 Is good, for you to see the deep. Notwithstanding, if ye desire it, according to my promise, come, follow me and behold. 6 And he led him away into a place that is called Cherubim, Cherich Slav. Cherudgr, lat. 2 Amitz, that is the place of truth. 7 And he beckoned unto the angels of the west, and the earth was rolled up like a volume of a book, and the deep was revealed unto them. 8 And when the apostles saw it, they fell on their faces upon the earth. 9 But Jesus raised him up, saying, Said I not unto you, it is not good for you to see the deep. And again he beckoned unto the angels, and the deep was covered up. 1 And he took them and brought him again unto the Mount of Olives. 2 And Peter said unto Mary, Thou that art highly favored, entreat the Lord that he would reveal unto us the things that are in the heavens. 3 And Mary said unto Peter, O stone hewn out of the rock, did not the Lord build his church upon thee? Go thou therefore first and ask him. 4 Peter saith again, O tabernacle that art spread abroad. 5 Mary saith, Thou art the image of Adam. Was not he first formed and then Eve? Look upon the sun, that according to the likeness of Adam it is bright. And upon the moon, that because of the transgression of Eve it is full of clay. For God did place Adam in the east and Eve in the west, and appointed the lights that the sun should shine on the earth unto Adam in the east in his fiery chariots, and the moon in the west should give light unto Eve with a countenance like milk. And she defiled the commandment of the Lord. Therefore was the moon stained with clay. Lat. 2, is cloudy, and her light is not bright. Thou therefore, since thou art the likeness of Adam, O test to ask him, but in me was he contained that I might recover the strength of the female. 6 Now when they came up to the top of the mount, and the master was withdrawn from him a little space, Peter saith unto Mary, Thou art she that hast brought to naught the transgression of Eve, changing it from shame into joy. It is lawful, therefore, for thee to ask. 7 When Jesus appeared again, Bartholomew saith unto him, Lord, show us the adversary of men that we may behold him, of what fashion he is, and what is his work, and whence he cometh forth, and what power he hath that he spared not even thee, but caused thee to be hanged upon the tree. 8 But Jesus looked upon him and said, Thou bold heart, thou askest for that which thou art not able to look upon. 9 But Bartholomew was troubled and fell at Jesus' feet and began to speak thus, O lamp that cannot be quenched, Lord Jesus Christ, maker of the eternal light, that hast given unto them that love thee the grace that beautifieth all, and hast given us the eternal light by thy coming into the world, that hast accomplished the work of the Father, hast turned the shamefacedness of Adam into mirth, hast done away the sorrow of Eve with a cheerful countenance by thy birth from a virgin. Remember not evil against me, but grant me the word of mine asking. Lat. 2, who didst come down into the world, who hast confirmed the eternal word of the Father, who hast called the sadness of joy, who hast made the shame of Eve glad, and restored her by vouchsafing to be contained in the womb. 10 And as he thus spake, Jesus raised him up and said unto him, Bartholomew, wilt thou see the adversary of men? I tell thee that when thou beholdest him, not thou only but the rest of. 11 But they all said unto him, Lord, let us behold him. 12 And he led him down from the Mount of Olives, and looked wrathfully upon the angels that keep hell, Tartarus, and beckoned unto Michael to sound the trumpet in the height of the heavens. And Michael sounded, and the earth shook, and Belial came up, being held by 560 gr. 6064 lat. 1, 6060 lat. 2, angels and bound with fiery chains. 12 And the length of him was 1600 cubits, and his breadth 40, lat. 1, 300, slav, 17, cubits, lat. 2, his length 1900 cubits, his breadth 700, one wing of him 80. And his face was like a lightning of fire, and his eyes full of darkness, like sparks, slav. Closing parenthesis dot. And out of his nostrils came a stinking smoke, and his mouth was as the gulf of a precipice, and the one of his wings was 80 cubits. 14 And straightway when the apostles saw him, they fell to the earth on their faces and became as dead. 15 But Jesus came near and raised the apostles and gave them a spirit of power, and he saith unto Bartholomew, Come near, Bartholomew, and trample with thy feet on his neck, and he will tell thee his work, what it is, and how he deceiveth men. 16 And Jesus stood afar off with the rest of the apostles. 17 And Bartholomew feared, and raised his voice and said, Blessed be the name of thine immortal kingdom from henceforth even forever. And when he had spoken, Jesus permitted him, saying, Go and tread upon the neck of Belial, and Bartholomew ran quickly upon him and trode upon his neck, and Belial trembled. For this verse the Vienna Mus. Has, and Bartholomew raised his voice and said thus, O womb more spacious than a city, wider than the spreading of the heavens, that contained him whom the 7 heavens contain not, but thou without pain didst contain sanctified in thy bosom, and see. Evidently out of place. Latin 1 has only. Then did Antichrist tremble and was filled with fury. 18 And Bartholomew was afraid, and fled, and said unto Jesus, Lord, give me an hem of thy garments, lat. 2, the kerchief, from thy shoulders, that I may have courage to draw near unto him. 19 But Jesus said unto him, Thou canst not take an hem of my garments, for these are not my garments which I wore before I was crucified. 20 And Bartholomew said, Lord, I fear lest, like as he spared not thine angels, he swallow me up also. 21 Jesus saith unto him, Were not all things made by my word, and by the will of my Father the spirits were made subject unto Solomon? Thou, therefore, being commanded by my word, go in my name and ask him what thou wilt. Lat. 2 omits 20. 22, And Bartholomew made the sign of the cross and prayed unto Jesus and went behind him. And Jesus said to him, Draw near. And as Bartholomew drew near, fire was kindled on every side, so that his garments appeared fiery. Jesus saith to Bartholomew, As I said unto thee, tread upon his neck and ask him what is his power. And Bartholomew went and trode upon his neck, and pressed down his face into the earth as far as his ears. 23 And Bartholomew saith unto him, Tell me who thou art and what is thy name. And he said to him, Lighten me a little, and I will tell thee who I am and how I came hither, and what my work is and what my power is. 24 And he lightened him and saith to him, Say all that thou hast done and all that thou doest. 25 And Beliar answered and said, If thou wilt know my name, at the first I was called Satanael, which is interpreted a messenger of God, but when I rejected the image of God my name was called Satanas, that is, an angel that keepeth hell, Tartarus. 26 And again Bartholomew saith unto him, Reveal unto me all things and hide nothing from me. 27 And he said unto him, I swear unto thee by the power of the glory of God that even if I would hide aught I cannot, for he is near that would convict me. For if I were able I would have destroyed you like one of them that were before you. 28 For, indeed, I was formed, called, the first angel, for when God made the heavens, he took a handful of fire and formed me first, Michael second, the enemas. Here has these sentences, for he had his son before the heavens and the earth and we were formed, for when he took thought to create all things, his son spake a word, so that we also were created by the will of the Son and the consent of the Father. He formed, I say, first me, next Michael the chief captain of the hosts that are above, Gabriel third, Uriel fourth, Raphael fifth, Nathaniel sixth, and other angels of whom I cannot tell the names. Jerusalem was Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, Zathanael, and other 6,000 angels. Lat. I, Michael the honor of power, third Raphael, fourth Gabriel, and other 7. Lat. 2, Raphael third, Gabriel fourth, Uriel fifth, Zathael sixth, and other 6. For they are the rod-bearers, lictors, of God, and they smite me with their rods and pursue me 7 times in the night and 7 times in the day, and leave me not at all and break in pieces all my power. These are the 12, Lat. 2, angels of vengeance which stand before the throne of God. These are the angels that were first formed. 30 And after them were formed all the angels. In the first heaven are 100 myriads, and in the second 100 myriads, and in the third 100 myriads, and in the fourth 100 myriads, and in the fifth 100 myriads, and in the sixth 100 myriads, and in the seventh 100 myriads, and outside the 7 heavens, Jerusalem is the first firmament, flat surface, wherein are the powers which work upon men. 31 For there are 4 other angels set over the winds. The first angel is over the north, and he is called Cherum, Broil, Jerusalem Lat. 2, Angel of the north, Mouch, and hath in his hand a rod of fire, and restraineth the superfluity of moisture that the earth be not overmuch wet. 32 And the angel that is over the north is called Earther, Lat. 2, Alphather, he hath a torch of fire and putteth it to his sides, and they warm the great coldness of him that he freeze not the world. 33 And the angel that is over the south is called Kirkuther, Lat. 2, Cedar, and they break his fierceness that he shake not the earth. 34 And the angel that is over the southwest is called Nouther, and he hath a rod of snow in his hand and putteth it into his mouth, and quencheth the fire that cometh out of his mouth. And if the angel quenched it not at his mouth it would set all the world on fire. 35 And there is another angel over the sea which maketh it rough with the waves thereof. 36 But the 37 Bartholomew saith unto him, Flow chastisest thou the souls of men. 38 Beliar saith unto him, Wilt thou that I declare unto thee the punishment of the hypocrites, of the backbiters, of the jesters, of the idolaters, and the covetous, and the adulterers, and the wizards, and the diviners, and of them that believe in us, and of all whom I look upon, deceive. Closing parenthesis question mark. 38 Lat. 2. When I will show any illusion by them. But they that do these things, and they that consent unto them or follow them, do perish with me. 39 Bartholomew said unto him, Declare quickly how thou persuadest men not to follow God and thine evil arts, that are slippery and dark, that they should leave the straight and shining paths of the Lord. 39 Bartholomew saith unto him, I will that thou declare it in few words. 40 And he smote his teeth together, gnashing them, and there came up out of the bottomless pit a wheel having a sword flashing with fire, and in the sword were pipes. 41 And he asked him, saying, What is this sword? 42 And he said, This sword is the sword of the gluttonous, for into this pipe ascend they that through their gluttony devise all manner of sin. Into the second pipe ascend the backbiters which backbite their neighbour secretly. Into the third pipe ascend the hypocrites and the rest whom I overthrow by my contrivance. Lat. 240 And Antichrist said, I will tell thee. And a wheel came up out of the abyss, having 7 fiery knives. The first knife hath 12 pipes, canalas. 42 Antichrist answered, The pipe of fire in the first knife, in it are put the casters of lots and diviners and enchanters, and they that believe in them or have sought them, because in the iniquity of their heart they have invented false divinations. In the second pipe of fire are first the blasphemers, suicides, idolaters. In the rest are first perjurers, long enumeration. 43 And Bartholomew said, Dost thou then do these things by thyself alone? 44 And Satan said, If I were able to go forth by myself, I would have destroyed the whole world in 3 days, but neither I nor any of the 600 go forth. For we have other swift ministers whom we command, and we furnish them with an hook of many points and send them forth to hunt, and they catch for us souls of men, enticing them with sweetness of divers baits, that is by drunkenness and laughter, by backbiting, hypocrisy, pleasures, fornication, and the rest of the 45 And I will tell thee also the rest of the names of the angels. The angel of the hail is called Myrmioth, and he holdeth the hail upon his head, and my ministers do adjure him and send him whither they will. And other angels are there over the snow, and other over the thunder, and other over the lightning, and when any spirit of us would go forth either by land or by sea, these angels send forth fiery stones and set our limbs on fire. Lat. 2 enumerates all the transgressions. 46 Bartholomew saith, Be still, be muzzled, thou dragon of the pit. 47 And Beliar said, Many things will I tell thee of the angels. They that run together throughout the heavenly places and the earthly are these, Myrmioth, Onomatith, Dalth, Meliath, Caruth, Graphathus, Oethra, Nephonos, Chalcatora. With them do fly, or administered, the things that are in heaven and on earth and under the earth. 48 Bartholomew saith unto him, Be still, be muzzled, and be faint, that I may entreat my Lord. 49 And Bartholomew fell upon his face and cast earth upon his head and began to say, O Lord Jesus Christ, the great and glorious name. All the choirs of the angels praise thee, O Master, and I that am unworthy with my lips, do praise thee, O Master. Hearken unto me thy servant, and as thou didst choose me from the receipt of custom and didst not suffer me to have my conversation unto the end in my former deeds, O Lord Jesus Christ, hearken unto me and have mercy upon the sinners. 50 And when he had so said, the Lord saith unto him, Rise up, suffer him that groaneth to arise, I will declare the rest unto thee. 51 And Bartholomew raised up Satan and said unto him, Go unto thy place, with thine angels, but the Lord hath mercy upon all his world. 51, again enormously amplified in Lat. 2. Satan complains that he has been tricked into telling his secrets before the time. The interpolation is to some extent dated by this sentence, Simon Magus and Zeros and Arphaxad and Jannes and Mambres are my brothers. Zeros and Arphaxad are wizards who figure in the Latin Acts of Matthew and of Simon and Jude, see below. 52 But the devil said, Suffer me, and I will tell thee how I was cast down into this place and how the Lord did make man. 53 I was going to and fro in the world, and God said unto Michael, Bring me a clod from the four corners of the earth, and water out of the 4 rivers of paradise. And when Michael brought them, God formed Adam in the regions of the east, and shaped the clod which was shapeless, and stretched sinews and veins upon it and established it with joints, and he worshipped him, himself for his own sake. First, because he was the image of God, therefore he worshipped him. 54 And when I came from the ends of the earth, Michael said, Worship thou the image of God, which he hath made according to his likeness. But I said, I am fire of fire, I was the first angel formed, and shall worship clay and matter. 55 And Michael saith to me, Worship, lest God be wroth with thee. But I said to him, God will not be wroth with me, but I will set my throne over against his throne, and I will be as he is. Then was God wroth with me and cast me down, having commanded the windows of heaven to be opened. 56 And when I was cast down, he asked also the 600 that were under me, if they would worship. But they said, Like as we have seen the first angel do, neither will we worship him that is less than ourselves. Then were the 600 also cast down by him with me. 57 And when we were cast down upon the earth we were senseless for 40 years. And when the sun shone forth 7 times brighter than fire, suddenly I awaked, and I looked about and saw the 600 that were under me senseless. 58 And I awaked my son Salpsan and took him to counsel how I might deceive the man on whose account I was cast out of the heavens. 59 And thus did I contrive it. I took a vial in mine hand and scraped the sweat from off my breast and the hair of mine armpits, and washed myself. Lat. 2. I took fig leaves in my hands and wiped the sweat from my bosom and below mine arms and cast it down beside the streams of waters. 69 is greatly prolonged in this text, in the springs of the waters whence the 4 rivers flow out, and Eve drank of it and desire came upon her, for if she had not drunk of that water I should not have been able to deceive her. 61 And Bartholomew came and fell at Jesus' feet and began with tears to say thus, Abba, Father, that art past finding out by us, word of the Father, whom the 7 heavens hardly contained, but who wast pleased to be contained easily and without pain within the body of the Virgin, whom the Virgin knew not that she bare, thou by thy thought hast ordained all things to be, thou givest us that which we need before thou art entreated. 62 Thou that didst wear a crown of thorns that thou mightest prepare for us that repent the precious crown from heaven, that didst hang upon the tree, that, a clause gone, lat. 2. That thou mightest turn from us the tree of lust and concupiscence, etc., etc. The verse is prolonged for over 40 lines. That didst drink wine mingled with gall, that thou mightest give us to drink of the wine of compunction, and wast pierced in the side with a spear that thou mightest fill us with thy body and thy blood. 63 Thou that gavest names unto the 4 rivers, to the first Phison. Because of the faith, pistis, which thou didst appear in the world to preach, to the second Gion, for that man was made of earth, ge, to the third Tigris, because by thee was revealed unto us the consubstantial Trinity in the heavens. To make anything of this we must read Trigis, to the 4th Euphrates, because by thy presence in the world thou madest every soul to rejoice. Euphroni, through the word of immortality. 64 My God, and Father, the greatest, my King, save, Lord, the sinners. 65 When he had thus prayed Jesus said unto him, Bartholomew, my Father did name me Christ, that I might come down upon earth and anoint every man that cometh unto me with the oil of life. And he did call me Jesus that I might heal every sin of them that know not, and give unto men several corrupt words. 66 And again Bartholomew saith unto him, Lord, is it lawful for me to reveal these mysteries unto every man? Jesus saith unto him, Bartholomew, my beloved, as many as are faithful and are able to keep them unto themselves, to them mayest thou entrust these things. For some there are that be worthy of them, but there are also other some unto whom it is not fit to entrust them. For they are vain, swaggerers, drunkards, proud, unmerciful, partakers in idolatry, authors of fornication, slanderers, teachers of foolishness, and doing all works that are of the devil, and therefore are they not worthy that these should be entrusted to them. 68 And also their secret, because of those that cannot contain them, for as many as can contain them shall have a part in them. Herein, hitherto, therefore, my beloved, have I spoken unto thee, for blessed art thou and all thy kindred which of their choice have this word entrusted unto them, for all they that of my judgment. 69 Then I, Bartholomew, which wrote these things in mine heart, took hold on the hand of. Glory be to thee, O Lord Jesus Christ, that givest unto all thy grace which all we have perceived. Alleluia. Glory be to thee, O Lord, the life of sinners. Glory be to thee, O Lord, death is put to shame. Glory be to thee, O Lord, the treasure of righteousness. For unto God do we sing. 70 And as Bartholomew thus spake again, Jesus put off his mantle and took a kerchief from the neck of Bartholomew and began to rejoice and say, 70 Lat. 2. Then Jesus took a kerchief, and said, I am good, mild and gracious and merciful, strong and righteous, wonderful and holy, I am good. Alleluia. I am meek and gentle. Alleluia. Glory be to thee, O Lord, for I give gifts unto all them that desire me. Alleluia. Glory be to thee, O Lord, world without end. Amen. Alleluia. 71 And when he had ceased, the apostles kissed him, and he gave them the peace of love. 1 Bartholomew saith unto him, Declare unto us, Lord, what sin is heavier than all sins? 2 Jesus saith unto him, Verily I say unto thee that hypocrisy and backbiting is heavier than all sins. For because of them, the prophet said in the psalm, that the ungodly shall not rise in the judgment, neither sinners in the council of the righteous, neither the ungodly in the judgment of my Father. Verily, verily, I say unto you, that every sin shall be forgiven unto every man, but the sin against the Holy Ghost shall not be forgiven. 3. And Bartholomew saith unto him, What is the sin against the Holy Ghost? 4. Jesus saith unto him, Whosoever shall decree against any man that hath served my holy Father hath blasphemed against the Holy Ghost. For every man that serveth God worshipfully is worthy of the Holy Ghost, and he that speaketh anything evil against him shall not be forgiven. 5. Woe unto him that sweareth by the head of God, yea, woe to him that sweareth falsely by him truly. For there are 12 heads of God the Most High, for he is the truth, and in him is no lie, neither forswearing. 6. Ye, therefore, go ye and preach unto all the world the word of truth, and thou, Bartholomew, preach this word unto every one that desireth it, and as many as. 7. Bartholomew saith, O Lord, and if any sin with sin of the body, what is their reward? 8. And Jesus said, It is good if he that is baptized present his baptism blameless, but the pleasure of the flesh will become a lover. For a single marriage belongeth to sobriety. For verily I say unto thee, he that sinneth after the third marriage, wife, is unworthy of God. 8. Lat. 2 is to this effect. But if the lust of the flesh come upon him, he ought to be the husband of one wife. The married, if they are good and pay tithes, will receive 100-fold. A second marriage is lawful, on condition of the diligent performance of good works, and due payment of tithes. But a third marriage is reprobated, and virginity is best. 9. But ye, preach ye unto every man that they keep themselves from such things. For I depart not from you, and I do supply you with the Holy Ghost. Lat. 2. At the end of 9, Jesus ascends in the clouds, and 2 angels appear and say, Ye men of Galilee, and the rest. 10. And Bartholomew worshipped him with the apostles, and glorified God earnestly, saying, Glory be to thee, Holy Father, Son. Unquenchable, incomprehensible, full of light. Unto thee be glory, unto thee honor and adoration, world without end. Amen. Lat. 2. End of the questioning of the most blessed Bartholomew and, or, the other apostles with the Lord Jesus Christ. The Book of the Resurrection of Christ. By Bartholomew the Apostle. Introduction. This exists in Coptic only. There are several recensions of it. The most complete is in a manuscript recently acquired by the British Museum, or 6804, and translated first by W. E. Crum, Rustafield's Light of Egypt, 1910, and then edited and translated by Sir E. A. Wallace Budge, Coptic Apocrypha in the dialect of Upper Egypt, 1913. Other fragments are in the publications of Laco and Revelout. No full translation, but only an analysis, will be offered here. 5 leaves are wanting at the beginning of the British Museum Mus. The contents of these can be partly filled up from Laco and Revelout. But in the first place a passage, page 193, Budge, may be quoted which shows something of the setting of the book. Do not let this book come into the hand of any man who is an unbeliever and a heretic. Behold, this is the 7th time that I have commanded thee, O my son Thaddeus, concerning these mysteries. Reveal not thou them to any impure man, but keep them safely. We see that the book was addressed by Bartholomew to his son Thaddeus, and this would no doubt have been the subject of some of the opening lines of the. Next we may place the 2 fragments, one about the child of Joseph of Arimathea, the other about the cock raised to life, which have been already described as Nos. 7 and 8 of the Coptic narratives of the Passion, pp. 149, 150. The order is uncertain. Then we have a piece which in Revelout is No. 12, page 165, in Locorno, 3, page 34. Laco gives it partly in 2 recessions. Christ is on the cross, but his side has been pierced, and he is dead. A man in the crowd named Ananias, of Bethlehem, rushes to the cross and embraces and salutes the body breast to breast, hand to hand, and denounces the Jews. A voice comes from the body of Jesus and blesses Ananias, promising him incorruption in the name of the first fruits of the immortal fruit. The priests decide to stone Ananias. He utters words of exultation. The stoning produces no effect. They cast him into a furnace where he remains till Jesus has risen. At last they pierce him with a spear. The Savior takes his soul to heaven, and blesses him. There can be but little matter lost between this and the opening of the British Museum Mus. In the first lines of which the taking of Ananias' soul to heaven is mentioned. We now take up the British Museum Mus. as our basis. Certain passages of it are preserved in Paris fragments which partly overlap each other, and so 3 different texts exist for some parts, but it will not be important for our purpose to note many of the variations. Joseph of Arimathea buried the body of Jesus. Death came into Amente, the underworld, asking who the new arrival was, for he detected a disturbance. He came to the tomb of Jesus with his 6 sons in the form of serpents. Jesus lay there, it was the 2nd day, i.e., the Saturday, with his face and head covered with napkins. Death addressed his son the pestilence, and described the commotion which had taken place in his domain. There, it was the 2nd day, i.e., the Saturday, with his face and head covered with napkins. Death addressed his son the pestilence, and described the commotion which had taken place in his domain. Then he spoke to the body of Jesus and asked, Who art thou? Jesus removed the napkin that was on his face and looked in the face of Death and laughed at him. Death and his sons fled. Then they approached again, and the same thing happened. He addressed Jesus again at some length, suspecting, but not certain, who he was. Then Jesus rose and mounted into the chariot of the cherubim. He wrought havoc in hell, breaking the doors, binding the demons Beliar and Melchior, cf. Melchior in the ascension of Isaiah, and delivered Adam and the holy souls. Then he turned to Judas Iscariot and uttered a long rebuke, and described the sufferings which he must endure. 30 names of sins are given, which are the snakes which were sent to devour him. Jesus rose from the dead, and Abaddon, death, and pestilence came back to Amente to protect it, but they found it wholly desolate, only 3 souls were left in it, those of Herod, Cain, and Judas, says the Paris Mus. Closing parenthesis. Meanwhile the angels were singing the hymn which the seraphim sing at dawn on the Lord's day over his body and his blood. Early in the morning of the Lord's day the women went to the tomb. They were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James whom Jesus delivered out of the hand of Satan, Salome who tempted him, Mary who ministered to him and Martha her sister, Joanna, Susanna, the wife of Chuza who had renounced the marriage bed, Berenice who was healed of an issue of blood in Capernaum, Leah, the widow whose son he raised at Nain, and the woman to whom he said, Thy sins which are many are forgiven thee. These were all in the garden of Philogines, whose son Simeon Jesus healed when he came down from the Mount of Olives with the apostles, probably the lunatic boy at the Mount of Transfiguration. Mary said to Philogines, If thou art indeed he, I know thee. Philogines said, Thou art Mary the mother of Thalcamerimeth, which means joy, blessing, and gladness. Mary said, If thou have borne him away, tell me where thou hast laid him and I will take him away, fear not. Philogines told how the Jews sought a safe tomb for Jesus that the body might not be stolen, and he offered to place it in a tomb in his own garden and watch over it, and they sealed it and departed. At midnight he rose and went out and found all the orders of angels, cherubim, seraphim, powers, and virgins. Heaven opened, and the Father raised Jesus. Peter, too, was there and supported Philogines, or he would have died. The Saviour then appeared to them on the chariot of the Father and said to Mary, Mari car Mariath, Mary the mother of the Son of God. Mary answered, Rabbuni Kathiathari Meoth, the Son of God the Almighty, my Lord, and my Son. A long address to Mary from Jesus follows, in the course of which he bids her tell his brethren, I ascend unto my Father and your Father, and see. Mary says, If indeed I am not permitted to touch thee, at least bless my body in which thou didst deign to dwell. Believe me, my brethren the holy apostles, I, Bartholomew beheld the Son of God on the chariot of the cherubim. All the heavenly hosts were about him. He blessed the body of Mary. She went and gave the message to the apostles, and Peter blessed her, and they rejoiced. Jesus and the redeemed souls ascended into heaven, and the Father crowned him. The glory of this scene Bartholomew could not describe. It is here that he enjoins his son Thaddeus not to let this book fall into the hands of the impure, quoted above. Then follows a series of hymns sung in heaven, 8 in all, which accompany the reception of Adam and the other holy souls into glory. Adam was 80 cubits high and Eve 50. They were brought to the Father by Michael. Bartholomew had never seen anything to compare with the beauty and glory of Adam, save that of Jesus. Adam was forgiven, and all the angels and saints rejoiced and saluted him, and departed each to their place. Adam was set at the gate of life to greet all the righteous as they enter, and Eve was set over all the women who had done the will of God, to greet them as they come into the city of Christ. As for me, Bartholomew, I remained many days without food or drink, nourished by the glory of the vision. The apostles thanked and blessed Bartholomew for what he had told them. He should be called the apostle of the mysteries of God. But he protested, I am the least of you all, a humble workman. Will not the people of the city say when they see me, is not this Bartholomew the man of Italy, the gardener, the dealer in vegetables? Is not this the man that dwelleth in the garden of Hierocrates, the governor of our city? How has he attained this greatness? The next words introduce a new section. At the time when Jesus took us up into the Mount of Olives, he spoke to us in an unknown tongue, which he revealed to us, saying, Anathareth, or Athareth Thorath. The heavens were opened and we all went up into the seventh heaven. So the London was, in the Paris copy only Jesus went up, and the apostles gazed after him. He prayed the Father to bless us. The Father, with the Son and the Holy Ghost, laid his hand on the head of Peter, and made him Archbishop of the whole world, Paris B. All that is bound or loosed by him on earth shall be so in heaven. None who is not ordained by him shall be accepted. Each of the apostles was separately blessed. There are omissions of single names in one or other of the three texts. Andrew, James, John, Philip, the cross will precede him wherever he goes. Thomas, Bartholomew, he will be the depository of the mysteries of the Son. Matthew, his shadow will heal the sick. James son of Alphaeus, Simon Zelotes, Judas of James, Thaddeus, Matthias who was rich and left all to follow Jesus. And now, my brethren the apostles, forgive me. I, Bartholomew, am not a man to be honored. The apostles kissed and blessed him. And then, with Mary, they offered the Eucharist. The Father sent the Son down into Galilee to console the apostles and Mary. And he came and blessed them and showed them his wounds, and committed them to the care of Peter, and gave them their commission to preach. They kissed his side and sealed themselves with the blood that flowed thence. He went up to heaven. Thomas was not with him, for he had departed to his city, hearing that his son Theophanes, was dead. It was the seventh day since the death when he arrived. He went to the tomb and raised him in the name of Jesus. Theophanes told him of the taking of his soul by Michael, how it sprang from his body and lighted on the hand of Michael, who wrapped it in a fine linen cloth, how he crossed the river of fire and it seemed to him as water, and was washed thrice in the Acusian lake, how in heaven he saw the 12 splendid thrones of the apostles, and was not permitted to sit on his Father's throne. Thomas and he went into the city to the consternation of all who saw them. He, Theophanes, addressed the people and told his story, and Thomas baptized 12,000 of them, founded a church, and made Theophanes its bishop. Then Thomas mounted on a cloud and it took him to the Mount of Olives and to the apostles, who told him of the visit of Jesus, and he would not believe. Bartholomew admonished him. Then Jesus appeared, and made Thomas touch his wounds, and departed into heaven. This is the second time that he showed himself to his disciples after that he had risen from the dead. This is the book of the resurrection of Jesus the Christ, our Lord, in joy and gladness. In peace. Amen. Peter said to the apostles, let us offer the offering before we separate. They prepared the bread, the cup, and incense. Peter stood by the sacrifice and the others round the table. They waited, breaking the text. Barch and others suppose an appearance of Christ, but I do not think this is correct. 4.5 lines are gone, then there are broken words. Table. Their hearts rejoiced. Worship the Son of God. He took his seat. His Father, probably, who sitteth at the right hand of the Father. His body was on the table about which they were assembled, and they divided it. They saw the blood of Jesus pouring out as living blood down into the cup. Peter said, God hath loved us more than all, in letting us see these great honors, and our Lord Jesus Christ hath allowed us to behold and hath revealed to us the glory of his body and his divine blood. They partook of the body and blood and then they separated and preached the word. What is clearly indicated is a change in the elements. There is not room for a description of an appearance of Jesus. He says no word, and his departure is not mentioned. Closing parenthesis.
Thank you very much for listening to the Gospel of Bartholomew. We'll be going to another gospel. Please, if you have not subscribed to my channel, help me and subscribe right now to support me and give me a reason to do the next video. God bless you as we go to the next gospel. Thank you. So we're going to be listening to the book of First Maccabees. So let's listen carefully So it's going to be First Maccabees.
The
Yes.
Mormon and Quaker Moons of Lancashire, Stories of Religious Conversion and Me.
Yes.
English First Maccabees. PDF 2.
Yes, so
Chapter
we're gonna
1
be
1 And it
now.
happened, after
Yes.
that Alexander son of
So
Philip,
chapter
the
1 verse
Macedonian,
1
who
is
came
what
out of the land of
it says.
Chetim, had
And
smitten
it
Darius king
happened
of the
after
Persians and
that
Medes,
Alexander
that he
son of
reigned in
Philip.
his stead,
So
the
just
first
listen.
over Greece, 2 and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, 3 and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of
The
many
3 means
nations,
verse 3
insomuch
of First
that the earth was
Maccabees
quiet
chapter 1.
before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. 4 And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries,
4
and
verse
nations,
4.
and kings, who became tributaries unto him. 5 And after these things he
That's
fell
verse
sick,
5.
and perceived that he should die.
Continue like that.
6
And
Wherefore
listen.
he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive. 7 Sir Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died. 8 And his servants bare rule every one in his place. 9 And after his death they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. 10 And there came out of them a wicked root Antiochus surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. 11 In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them we have had much sorrow. 12 So this device pleased them well. 13 Then certain of the people were so forward herein, that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. 14 Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen. 15 And made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. 16 Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt that he might have the dominion of 2 realms. 17 Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots, and elephants, and horsemen, and a great navy. 18 And made war against Ptolemy king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him, and fled, and many were wounded to death. 19 Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. 20 And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. 21 And entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof. 22 And the table of the shewbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crown, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. 23 He took also the silver and the gold, and the precious vessels, also he took the hidden treasures which he found. 24 And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre, and spoken very proudly. 25 Therefore there was a great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were. 26 So that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. 27 Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. 28 The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. 29 And after 2 years fully expired the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude. 30 And spake peaceable words unto them. But all was deceit, for when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. 31 And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. 32 But the women and children took they captive, and possessed the cattle. 33 Then builded they the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. 34 And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. 35 They stored it also with armor and victuals, and when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there, and so they became a sore snare. 36 For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel. 37 Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary, and defiled it. 38 Insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. Whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. 39 Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness, her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt. 40 As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. 41 Moreover King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom, that all should be one people. 42 And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. 43 Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. 44 For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land. 45 And forbid burnt offerings, and sacrifice, and drink offerings, in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days. 46 And pollute the sanctuary and holy people. 3. 47 Set up altars, and groves, and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh, and unclean beasts. 48 That they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. 49 To the end they might forget the law, and change all the ordinances. 50 And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said, he should die. 51 In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice, city by city. 52 Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit every one that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land. 53 And drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor. 54 Now the 15th day of the month Casleu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side. 55 And burnt incense at the doors of their houses, and in the streets. 56 And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire. 57 And whosoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was, that they should put him to death. 58 Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. 59 Now the 25th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God. 60 At which time according to the commandment they put to death certain women, that had caused their children to be circumcised. 61 And they hanged the infants about their necks, and rifled their houses, and slew them that had circumcised them. 62 Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. 63 Wherefore the rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant, so then they died. 64 And there was very great wrath upon Israel. Chapter 2:1 In those days arose Mattathias the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joarib, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. 2 And he had 5 sons, Johanan, called Caddis, 3 Simon, called Thassi, 4 Judas, who was called Maccabees, 5 Eleazar, called of Aaron, and Jonathan, whose surname was Aphus. 6 And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, 7 He said, Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people, and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers. 8 Her temple is become as a man without glory. 9 Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity, her infants are slain in the streets, her young men with the sword of the enemy. 10 What nation hath not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? 11 All her ornaments are taken away, of a free woman she is become a bond slave. 12 And, behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. 13 To what end therefore shall we live any longer? 14 Then Mattathias and his sons rent their clothes, and put on sackcloth, and mourned very sore. 15 In the meanwhile the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city Modin, to make them sacrifice. 16 And when many of Israel came unto them, Mattathias also and his sons came together. 17 Then answered the king's officers, and said to Mattathias on this wise, Thou art a ruler, and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with sons and brethren. 18 Now therefore come thou first, and fulfill the king's commandment, like as all the heathen have done, yea, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem. So shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends, and thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold, and many rewards. 19 Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, Though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him, and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments, 20 Yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. 21 God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. 22 We will not hearken to the king's words, to go from our religion, either on the right hand, or the left. 23 Now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. 24 Which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled, neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment, wherefore he ran, and slew him upon the altar. 25 Also the king's commissioner, who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down. 26 Thus dealt he zealously for the law of God like as Phenes did unto Zambri the son of Salom. 27 And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, Whosoever is zealous of the law, and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me. 28 So he and his sons fled into the mountains, and left all that ever they had in the city. 29 Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness, to dwell there, 30 Both they, and their children, and their wives, and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them. 31 Now when it was told the king's servants, and the host that was at Jerusalem, in the city of David, that certain men, who had broken the king's commandment, were gone down into the secret places in the wilderness, 4. 32 They pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken him, they camped against them, and made war against them on the Sabbath day. 33 And they said unto them, Let that which ye have done hitherto suffice, come forth, and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live. 34 But they said, We will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment, to profane the Sabbath day. 35 So then they gave them the battle with all speed. 36 Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at him, nor stopped the places where they lay hid. 37 But said, Let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth will testify for us, that ye put us to death wrongfully. 38 So they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them, with their wives and children and their cattle, to the number of 1,000 people. 39 Now when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore. 40 And one of them said to another, If we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth. 41 At that time therefore they decreed, saying, Whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him. Neither will we die all, as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. 42 Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. 43 Also all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them, and were a stay unto them. 44 So they joined their forces, and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath, but the rest fled to the heathen for succor. 45 Then Mattathias and his friends went round about, and pulled down the altars. 46 And what children soever they found within the coast of Israel uncircumcised, those they circumcised valiantly. 47 They pursued also after the proud men, and the work prospered in their hand. 48 So they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles, and out of the hand of kings, neither suffered they the sinner to triumph. 49 Now when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, Now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength, and the time of destruction, and the wrath of indignation. 50 Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. 51 Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time, so shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name. 52 Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? 53 Joseph in the time of his distress kept the commandment and was made Lord of Egypt. 54 Phenes our father in being zealous and fervent obtained the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. 55 Jesus for fulfilling the word was made a judge in Israel. 56 Caleb for bearing witness before the congregation received the heritage of the land. 57 David for being merciful possessed the throne of an everlasting kingdom. 58 Elias for being zealous and fervent for the law was taken up into heaven. 59 Ananias, Azarias, and Misael, by believing was saved out of the flame. 60 Daniel for his innocency was delivered from the mouth of lions. 61 And thus consider ye throughout all ages, that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome. 62 Fear not then the words of a sinful man, for his glory shall be dung and worms. 63 Today he shall be lifted up and tomorrow he shall not be found, because he is returned into his dust, and his thought is come to nothing. 64 Wherefore, ye my sons, be valiant and show yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall ye obtain glory. 65 And behold, I know that your brother Simon is a man of counsel, give ear unto him alway, he shall be a father unto you. 66 As for Judas Maccabeus, he hath been mighty and strong, even from his youth up, let him be your captain, and fight the battle of the people. 67 Take also unto you all those that observe the law, and avenge ye the wrong of your people. 68 Recompense fully the heathen, and take heed to the commandments of the law. 69 So he blessed them, and was gathered to his fathers. 70 And he died in the 146th year, and his sons buried him in the sepulchres of his fathers at Modin, and all Israel made great lamentation for him. Chapter 3:1 Then his son Judas, called Maccabeus, rose up in his stead. 2 And all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that held with his father, and they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. 3 So he gat his people great honor, and put on a breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike harness about him, and he made battles, protecting the host with his sword. 4 In his acts he was like a lion, and like a lion's whelp roaring for his prey. 5 For he pursued the wicked, and sought him out, and burnt up those that vexed his people. 6 Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled, because salvation prospered in his hand. 7 He grieved also many kings, and made Jacob glad with his acts, and his memorial is blessed forever. 8 Moreover he went through the cities of Judah, destroying the ungodly out of them, and turning away wrath from Israel. 9 So that he was renowned unto the utmost part of the earth, and he received unto him such as were ready to perish. 10 Then Apollonius gathered the Gentiles together, and a great host out of Samaria, to fight against Israel. 11 Which thing when Judas perceived, he went forth to meet him, and so he smote him, and slew him. Many also fell down slain, but the rest fled. 12 Wherefore Judas took their spoils, and Apollonius' sword also, and therewith he fought all his life long. 5. 13 Now when Saron, a prince of the army of Syria, heard say that Judas had gathered unto him a multitude and company of the faithful to go out with him to war. 14 He said, I will get me a name and honor in the kingdom, for I will go fight with Judas and them that are with him, who despised the king's commandment. 15 So he made him ready to go up, and there went with him a mighty host of the ungodly to help him, and to be avenged of the children of Israel. 16 And when he came near to the going up of Bethoron, Judas went forth to meet him with a small company. 17 Who, when they saw the host coming to meet them, said unto Judas, How shall we be able, being so few, to fight against so great a multitude and so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all this day? 18 Unto whom Judas answered, It is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few, and with the God of heaven it is all one, to deliver with a great multitude, or a small company. 19 For the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude of an host, but strength cometh from heaven. 20 They come against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us, and our wives and children, and to spoil us. 21 But we fight for our lives and our laws. 22 Wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face, and as for you, be ye not afraid of them. 23 Now as soon as he had left off speaking, he leapt suddenly upon him, and Sisera and his host was overthrown before him. 24 And they pursued them from the going down of Bethoron unto the plain, where was slain about 800 men of them, and the residue fled into the land of the Philistines. 25 Then began the fear of Judas and his brethren, and an exceeding great dread, to fall upon the nations round about them. 26 Insomuch as his fame came unto the king, and all nations talked of the battles of Judas. 27 Now when King Antiochus heard these things, he was full of indignation, wherefore he sent and gathered together all the forces of his realm, even a very strong army. 28 He opened also his treasure, and gave his soldiers pay for a year, commanding them to be ready whensoever he should need them. 29 Nevertheless, when he saw that the money of his treasures failed and that the tributes in the country was small, because of the dissension and plague, which he had brought upon the land in taking away the laws which had been of old time. 30 He feared that he should not be able to bear the charges any longer, nor to have such gifts to give so liberally as he did before, for he had abounded above the kings that were before him. 31 Wherefore, being greatly perplexed in his mind, he determined to go into Persia, there to take the tributes of the countries, and to gather much money. 32 So he left Lysias, a nobleman, and one of the blood royal, to oversee the affairs of the king from the river Euphrates unto the borders of Egypt. 33 And to bring up his son Antiochus, until he came again. 34 Moreover he delivered unto him the half of his forces, and the elephants, and gave him charge of all things that he would have done. as also concerning them that dwelt in Judah and Jerusalem, 35 to wit, that he should send an army against them, to destroy and root out the strength of Israel, and the remnant of Jerusalem, and to take away their memorial from that place, 36 and that he should place strangers in all their quarters, and divide their land by lot. 37 So the king took the half of the forces that remained, and departed from Antioch, his royal city, the 147th year. And having passed the river Euphrates, he went through the high countries. 38 Then Lysias chose Ptolemy the son of Dorymenes, Nicanor, and Gorgias, mighty men of the king's friends. 39 And with them he sent 40,000 footmen, and 7,000 horsemen, to go into the land of Judah, and to destroy it, as the king commanded. 40 So they went forth with all their power, and came and pitched by Emmaus in the plain country. 41 And the merchants of the country, hearing the fame of them, took silver and gold very much, with servants, and came into the camp to buy the children of Israel for slaves. A power also of Syria and of the land of the Philistines joined themselves unto them. 42 Now when Judas and his brethren saw that miseries were multiplied, and that the forces did encamp themselves in their borders, for they knew how the king had given commandment to destroy the people, and utterly abolish them. 43 They said one to another, Let us restore the decayed fortune of our people, and let us fight for our people and the sanctuary. 44 Then was the congregation gathered together, that they might be ready for battle, and that they might pray, and ask mercy and compassion. 45 Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness, there was none of her children that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down, and aliens kept the stronghold. The heathen had their habitation in that place, and joy was taken from Jacob, and the pipe with the harp ceased. 46 Wherefore the Israelites assembled themselves together, and came to Maspha, over against Jerusalem, for in Maspha was the place where they prayed aforetime in Israel. 47 Then they fasted that day, and put on sackcloth, and cast ashes upon their heads, and rent their clothes. 48 And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. 49 They brought also the priests' garments, and the firstfruits, and the tithes, and the Nazarites they stirred up, who had accomplished their days. 50 Then cried they with a loud voice toward heaven, saying, What shall we do with these, and whither shall we carry them away? 51 For thy sanctuary is trodden down and profaned, and thy priests are in heaviness, and brought low. 52 And lo, the heathen are assembled together against us to destroy us. What things they imagine against us, thou knowest. 53 How shall we be able to stand against them, except thou, O God, be our help? 54 Then sounded they with trumpets, and cried with a loud voice. 6. 55 And after this Judas ordained captains over the people, even captains over thousands, and over hundreds, and over fifties, and over tens. 56 But as for such as were building houses, or had betrothed wives, or were planting vineyards, or were fearful, those he commanded that they should return, every man to his own house, according to the law. 57 So the camp removed, and pitched upon the south side of Emmaus. 58 And Judas said, Arm yourselves, and be valiant men, and see that ye be in readiness against the morning, that ye may fight with these nations, that are assembled together against us to destroy us and our sanctuary. 59 For it is better for us to die in battle, than to behold the calamities of our people and our sanctuary. 60 Nevertheless, as the will of God is in heaven, so let him do. Chapter 4 1 Then took Gorgias 5,000 footmen, and 1,000 of the best horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night. 2 To the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews, and smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his guides. 3 Now when Judas heard thereof he himself removed, and the valiant men with him, that he might smite the king's army which was at Emmaus. 4 While as yet the forces were dispersed from the camp. 5 In the mean season came Gorgias by night into the camp of Judas, and when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains. For said he, These fellows flee from us. 6 But as soon as it was day, Judas showed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their minds. 7 And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed, and compassed round about with horsemen, and these were expert of war. 8 Then said Judas to the men that were with him, Fear ye not their multitude, neither be ye afraid of their assault. 9 Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea, when Pharaoh pursued them with an army. 10 Now therefore let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day. 11 That so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivereth and saveth Israel. 12 Then the strangers lifted up their eyes, and saw them coming over against them. 13 Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle, but they that were with Judas sounded their trumpets. 14 So they joined battle, and the heathen being discomfited fled into the plain. 15 Howbeit all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword, for they pursued them unto Gezerah, and unto the plains of Idumea, and Azotus, and Jamnia, so that there was slain of them upon 3,000 men. 16 This done, Judas returned again with his host from pursuing him. 17 And said to the people, Be not greedy of the spoil inasmuch as there is a battle before us. 18 And Gorgias and his host are here by us in the mountain. But stand ye now against our enemies, and overcome them, and after this ye may boldly take the spoils. 19 As Judas was yet speaking these words, there appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain. 20 Who when they perceived that the Jews had put their host to flight and were burning the tents, for the smoke that was seen declared what was done. 21 When therefore they perceived these things, they were sore afraid, and seeing also the host of Judas in the plain ready to fight. 22 They fled, every one into the land of strangers. 23 Then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold, and silver, and blue silk, and purple of the sea, and great riches. 24 After this they went home, and sung a song of thanksgiving, and praised the Lord in heaven, because it is good, because his mercy endureth forever. 25 Thus Israel had a great deliverance that day. 26 Now all the strangers that had escaped came and told Lysias what had happened. 27 Who, when he heard thereof, was confounded and discouraged, because neither such things as he would were done unto Israel, nor such things as the king commanded him were come to pass. 28 The next year therefore following Lysias gathered together 70,000 choice men of foot, and 5,000 horsemen, that he might subdue them. 29 So they came into Idumea, and pitched their tents at Bethsura, and Judas met them with 10,000 men. 30 And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Saviour of Israel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David, and gavest the host of strangers into the hands of Jonathan the son of Saul, and his armor-bearer. 31 Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen. 32 Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction. 33 Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving. 34 So they joined battle, and there was slain of the host of Lysias about 5,000 men, even before them were they slain. 35 Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judas' soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly, he went into Antiochia, and gathered together a company of strangers, and having made his army greater than it was, he purposed to come again into Judea. 36 Then said Judas and his brethren, Behold, our enemies are discomfited, let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. 37 Upon this all the host assembled themselves together, and went up into Mount Sion. 38 And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profaned, and the gates burned up, and shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest, or in one of the mountains, yea, and the priest's chambers pulled down. 39 They rent their clothes, and made great lamentation, and cast ashes upon their heads. 7. 40 And fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried toward heaven. 41 Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress, until he had cleansed the sanctuary. 42 So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law. 43 Who cleansed the sanctuary, and bare out the defiled stones into an unclean place. 44 And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profaned, 45 They thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it, wherefore they pulled it down. 46 And laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. 47 Then they took whole stones according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former. 48 And made up the sanctuary, and the things that were within the temple, and hallowed the courts. 49 They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick, and the altar of burnt offerings, and of incense, and the table. 50 And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. 51 Furthermore they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. 52 Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Casleu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning. 53 And offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings, which they had made. 54 Look, at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it, even in that was it dedicated with songs, and kithens, and harps, and cymbals. 55 Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshipping and praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success. 56 And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. 57 They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold, and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hanged doors upon them. 58 Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. 59 Moreover Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained, that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Casleu, with mirth and gladness. 60 At that time also they builded up the Mount Sion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before. 61 And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. Chapter 5:1 Now when the nations round about heard that the altar was built and the sanctuary renewed as before, it displeased them very much. 2 Wherefore they thought to destroy the generation of Jacob that was among him, and thereupon they began to slay and destroy the people. 3 Then Judas fought against the children of Esau in Idumea at Arabatine, because they besieged Gael, and he gave them a great overthrow, and abated their courage, and took their spoils. 4 Also he remembered the injury of the children of Ben, who had been a snare and an offense unto the people, in that they lay in wait for them in the ways. 5 He shut them up therefore in the towers, and encamped against them, and destroyed them utterly, and burned the towers of that place with fire, and all that were therein. 6 Afterward he passed over to the children of Ammon, where he found a mighty power, and much people, with Timotheus their captain. 7 So he fought many battles with them, till at length they were discomfited before him, and he smote them. 8 And when he had taken Jazer, with the towns belonging thereto, he returned into Judea. 9 Then the heathen that were at Galad assembled themselves together against the Israelites that were in their quarters, to destroy them, but they fled to the fortress of Dathama. 10 And sent letters unto Judas and his brethren, the heathen that are round about us are assembled together against us to destroy us. 11 And they are preparing to come and take the fortress whereunto we are fled, Timotheus being captain of their host. 12 Come now therefore, and deliver us from their hands, for many of us are slain. 13 Yea, all our brethren that were in the places of Tobiah put to death, their wives and their children also they have carried away captives, and borne away their stuff, and they have destroyed there about 1,000 men. 14 While these letters were yet reading, behold, there came other messengers from Galilee with their clothes rent, who reported on this wise. 15 And said, They of Ptolemais, and of Tyrus, and Sidon, and all Galilee of the Gentiles, are assembled together against us to consume us. 16 Now when Judas and the people heard these words, there assembled a great congregation together, to consult what they should do for their brethren, that were in trouble, and assaulted of them. 17 Then said Judas unto Simon his brother, Choose thee out men, and go and deliver thy brethren that are in Galilee, for I and Jonathan my brother will go into the country of Galad. 18 So he left Joseph the son of Zacharias, and Azarias, captains of the people, with the remnant of the host in Judea to keep it. 19 Unto whom he gave commandment, saying, Take ye the charge of this people, and see that ye make not war against the heathen until the time that we come again. 8. 20 Now unto Simon were given 3,000 men to go into Galilee, and unto Judas 8,000 men for the country of Galad. 21 Then went Simon into Galilee, where he fought many battles with the heathen, so that the heathen were discomfited by him. 22 And he pursued them unto the gate of Ptolemais, and there was slain of the heathen about 3,000 men, whose spoils he took. 23 And those that were in Galilee, and in Arbatus, with their wives and their children, and all that they had, took he away with him, and brought them into Judea with great joy. 24 Judas Maccabeus also and his brother Jonathan went over Jordan, and travelled 3 days' journey in the wilderness. 25 Where they met with the Nabathites, who came unto them in a peaceable manner, and told them everything that had happened to their brethren in the land of Galad. 26 And how that many of them were shut up in Bosora, and Bosor, and Elema, Casphor, Macht, and Carnaim. All these cities are strong and great. 27 And that they were shut up in the rest of the cities of the country of Galad, and that against tomorrow they had appointed to bring their host against the forts, and to take them, and to destroy them all in one day. 28 Hereupon Judas and his host turned suddenly by the way of the wilderness unto Bosora, and when he had won the city, he slew all the males with the edge of the sword, and took all their spoils, and burned the city with fire. 29 From whence he removed by night, and went till he came to the fortress. 30 And betimes in the morning they looked up, and, behold, there was an innumerable people bearing ladders and other engines of war, to take the fortress, for they assaulted them. 31 When Judas therefore saw that the battle was begun, and that the cry of the city went up to heaven, with trumpets, and a great sound, 32 He said unto his host, Fight this day for your brethren. 33 So he went forth behind them in 3 companies, who sounded their trumpets, and cried with prayer. 34 Then the host of Timotheus, knowing that it was Maccabees, fled from him, wherefore he smote them with a great slaughter, so that there were killed of them that day about 8,000 men. 35 This done, Judas turned aside to Maspha, and after he had assaulted it he took and slew all the males therein, and received the spoils thereof and burnt it with fire. 36 From thence went he, and took Casphon, Magid, Bosor, and the other cities of the country of Galaad. 37 After these things gathered Timotheus another host and encamped against Raphan beyond the brook. 38 Sir Judas sent men to espy the host, who brought him word, saying, All the heathen that be round about us are assembled unto them, even a very great host. 39 He hath also hired the Arabians to help them, and they have pitched their tents beyond the brook, ready to come and fight against thee. Upon this Judas went to meet them. 40 Then Timotheus said unto the captains of his host, When Judas and his host come near the brook, if he pass over first unto us, we shall not be able to withstand him, for he will mightily prevail against us. 41 But if he be afraid, and camp beyond the river, we shall go over unto him, and prevail against him. 42 Now when Judas came near the brook, he caused the scribes of the people to remain by the brook, unto whom he gave commandment, saying, Suffer no man to remain in the camp, but let all come to the battle. 43 So he went first over unto them, and all the people after him. Then all the heathen, being discomfited before him, cast away their weapons, and fled unto the temple that was at Carnaim. 44 But they took the city, and burned the temple with all that were therein. Thus was Carnaim subdued, neither could they stand any longer before Judas. 45 Then Judas gathered together all the Israelites that were in the country of Galaad, from the least unto the greatest, even their wives, and their children, and their stuff, a very great host, to the end they might come into the land of Judea. 46 Now when they came unto Ephron, this was a great city in the way as they should go, very well fortified, they could not turn from it, either on the right hand or the left, but must needs pass through the midst of it. 47 Then they of the city shut him out, and stopped up the gates with stones. 48 Whereupon Judas sent unto them in peaceable manner, saying, Let us pass through your land to go into our own country, and none shall do you any hurt. We will only pass through on foot. Howbeit they would not open unto him. 49 Wherefore Judas commanded a proclamation to be made throughout the host, that every man should pitch his tent in the place where he was. 50 So the soldiers pitched, and assaulted the city all that day and all that night, till at the length the city was delivered into his hands. 51 Who then slew all the males with the edge of the sword, and rashed the city, and took the spoils thereof, and passed through the city over them that were slain. 52 After this went they over Jordan into the great plain before Bethsan. 53 And Judas gathered together those that came behind, and exhorted the people all the way through, till they came into the land of Judea. 54 So they went up to Mount Sion with joy and gladness, where they offered burnt offerings, because not one of them was slain until they had returned in peace. 55 Now what time as Judas and Jonathan were in the land of Galaad, and Simon his brother in Galilee before Ptolemais. 56 Joseph the son of Zacharias, and Azarias, captains of the garrisons, heard of the valiant acts and warlike deeds which they had done. 57 Wherefore they said, Let us also get us a name, and go fight against the heathen that are round about us. 58 So when they had given charge unto the garrison that was with him, they went toward Jamnia. 59 Then came Gorgias and his men out of the city to fight against them. 60 And so it was, that Joseph and Azarias were put to flight, and pursued unto the borders of Judea, and there were slain that day of the people of Israel about 2,000 men. 61 Thus was there a great overthrow among the children of Israel, because they were not obedient unto Judas and his brethren, but thought to do some valiant act. 62 Moreover these men came not of the seed of those, by whose hand deliverance was given unto Israel. 9. 63 Howbeit the man Judas and his brethren were greatly renowned in the sight of all Israel, and of all the heathen, wheresoever their name was heard of. 64 Insomuch as the people assembled unto them with joyful acclamations. 65 Afterward went Judas forth with his brethren, and fought against the children of Esau in the land toward the south, where he smote Hebron, and the towns thereof, and pulled down the fortress of it, and burned the towers thereof round about. 66 From thence he removed to go into the land of the Philistines, and passed through Samaria. 67 At that time certain priests, desirous to show their valor, were slain in battle, for that they went out to fight unadvisedly. 68 Sir Judas turned to Azotus in the land of the Philistines, and when he had pulled down their altars, and burned their carved images with fire, and spoiled their cities, he returned into the land of Judea. Chapter 6:1 About that time King Antiochus travelling through the high countries heard say, that Elamis in the country of Persia was a city greatly renowned for riches, silver, and gold. 2 And that there was in it a very rich temple, wherein were coverings of gold, and breastplates, and shields, which Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian king, who reigned first among the Grecians, had left there. 3 Wherefore he came and sought to take the city, and to spoil it. But he was not able, because they of the city, having had warning thereof, 4 rose up against him in battle. So he fled, and departed thence with great heaviness, and returned to Babylon. 5 Moreover there came one who brought him tidings into Persia, that the armies, which went against the land of Judea, were put to flight. 6 And that Lysias, who went forth first with a great power, was driven away of the Jews, and that they were made strong by the armor, and power, and store of spoils, which they had gotten of the armies, whom they had destroyed. 7 Also that they had pulled down the abomination, which he had set up upon the altar in Jerusalem, and that they had compassed about the sanctuary with high walls, as before, and his city Bethsura. 8 Now when the king heard these words, he was astonished and sore moved. Whereupon he laid him down upon his bed, and fell sick for grief, because it had not befallen him as he looked for. 9 And there he continued many days, for his grief was more and more, and he made account that he should die. 10 Wherefore he called for all his friends, and said unto them, The sleep is gone from mine eyes, and my heart faileth for very care. 11 And I thought with myself, Into what tribulation am I come, and how great a flood of misery is it, wherein now I am? For I was bountiful and beloved in my power. 12 But now I remember the evils that I did at Jerusalem, and that I took all the vessels of gold and silver that were therein, and sent to destroy the inhabitants of Judea without a cause. 13 I perceive therefore that for this cause these troubles are come upon me, and, behold, I perish through great grief in a strange land. 14 Then called he for Philip, one of his friends, who he made ruler over all his realm. 15 And gave him the crown, and his robe, and his signet, to the end he should bring up his son Antiochus, and nourish him up for the kingdom. 16 So King Antiochus died there in the 149th year. 17 Now when Lysias knew that the king was dead, he set up Antiochus his son, whom he had brought up being young, to reign in his stead, and his name he called Eupator. 18 About this time they that were in the tower shut up the Israelites round about the sanctuary, and sought always their hurt, and the strengthening of the heathen. 19 Wherefore Judas, purposing to destroy them, called all the people together to besiege them. 20 So they came together, and besieged them in the 150th year, and he made mounts for shot against them, and other engines. 21 Howbeit certain of them that were besieged got forth, unto whom some ungodly men of Israel joined themselves. 22 And they went unto the king, and said, How long will it be ere thou execute judgment, and avenge our brethren? 23 We have been willing to serve thy father, and to do as he would have us, and to obey his commandments. 24 For which cause they of our nation besiege the tower, and are alienated from us. Moreover as many of us as they could light on they slew, and spoiled our inheritance. 25 Neither have they stretched out their hand against us only, but also against their borders. 26 And, behold, this day are they besieging the tower at Jerusalem, to take it, the sanctuary also and Bethsura have they fortified. 27 Wherefore if thou dost not prevent them quickly, they will do the greater things than these, neither shalt thou be able to rule them. 28 Now when the king heard this, he was angry, and gathered together all his friends, and the captains of his army, and those that had charge of the horse. 29 There came also unto him from other kingdoms, and from isles of the sea, bands of hired soldiers. 30 So that the number of his army was 100,000 footmen, and 20,000 horsemen, and 32 elephants exercised in battle. 31 These went through Idumea, and pitched against Bethsura, which they assaulted many days, making engines of war. But they of Bethsura came out, and burned them with fire, and fought valiantly. 32 Upon this Judas removed from the tower, and pitched in Bathzacharias, over against the king's camp. 33 Then the king rising very early marched fiercely with his host toward Bath-Zacharias, where his armies made him ready to battle, and sounded the trumpets. 34 And to the end they might provoke the elephants to fight, they showed him the blood of grapes and mulberries. 35 Moreover they divided the beasts among the armies, and for every elephant they appointed 1,000 men, armed with coats of mail, and with helmets of brass on their heads, and beside this, for every beast were ordained 500 horsemen of the best. 10. 36 These were ready at every occasion. Wheresoever the beast was, and whithersoever the beast went, they went also, neither departed they from him. 37 And upon the beasts were their strong towers of wood, which covered every one of them, and were girt fast unto them with devices. There were also upon every one 32 strong men, that fought upon him, beside the Indian that ruled him. 38 As for the remnant of the horsemen, they set them on this side and that side at the two parts of the host, giving them signs what to do, and being harnessed all over amidst the ranks. 39 Now when the sun shone upon the shields of gold and brass, the mountains glistered therewith, and shined like lamps of fire. 40 So part of the king's army being spread upon the high mountains, and part on the valleys below, they marched on safely and in order. 41 Wherefore all that heard the noise of their multitude, and the marching of the company, and the rattling of the harness, were moved, for the army was very great and mighty. 42 Then Judas and his host drew near, and entered into battle, and there was slain of the king's army 600 men. 43 Eleazar also, surnamed Savarin, perceiving that one of the beasts, armed with royal harness, was higher than all the rest, and supposing that the king was upon him, 44 put himself in jeopardy, to the end he might deliver his people, and get him a perpetual name. 45 Wherefore he ran upon him courageously through the midst of the battle, slaying on the right hand and on the left, so that they were divided from him on both sides. 46 Which done, he crept under the elephant, and thrust him under, and slew him, whereupon the elephant fell down upon him, and there he died. 47 Howbeit the rest of the Jews, seeing the strength of the king, and the violence of his forces, turned away from them. 48 Then the king's army went up to Jerusalem to meet them, and the king pitched his tents against Judea, and against Mount Sion. 49 But with them that were in Bethsura he made peace, for they came out of the city, because they had no victuals there to endure the siege, it being a year of rest to the land. 50 So the king took Bethsura, and set a garrison there to keep it. 51 As for the sanctuary, he besieged it many days, and set their artillery with engines and instruments to cast fire and stones, and pieces to cast darts and slings. 52 Whereupon they also made engines against their engines, and held them battle a long season. 53 Yet at the last, their vessels being without victuals, for that it was the 7th year, and they in Judea that were delivered from the Gentiles, had eaten up the residue of the store winking face. 54 There were but a few left in the sanctuary, because the famine did so prevail against them, that they were fain to disperse themselves, every man to his own place. 55 At that time Lysias heard say, that Philip, whom Antiochus the king, whiles he lived, had appointed to bring up his son Antiochus, that he might be king. 56 Was returned out of Persia and Media, and the king's host also that went with him, and that he sought to take unto him the ruling of the affairs. 57 Wherefore he went in all haste, and said to the king and the captains of the host and the company, We decay daily, and our victuals are but small, and the place we lay siege unto is strong, and the affairs of the kingdom lie upon us. 58 Now therefore let us be friends with these men, and make peace with them, and with all their nation. 59 And covenant with them, that they shall live after their laws, as they did before, for they are therefore displeased, and have done all these things, because we abolished their laws. 60 So the king and the princes were content, wherefore he sent unto them to make peace, and they accepted thereof. 61 Also the king and the princes made an oath unto them, whereupon they went out of the stronghold. 62 Then the king entered into Mount Sion, but when he saw the strength of the place, he broke his oath that he had made, and gave commandment to pull down the wall round about. 63 Afterward departed he in all haste, and returned unto Antiochia, where he found Philip to be master of the city. So he fought against him, and took the city by force. Chapter 7 In the 151st year Demetrius the son of Seleucus departed from Rome, and came up with a few men unto a city of the sea coast, and reigned there. 2 And as he entered into the palace of his ancestors, so it was, that his forces had taken Antiochus and Lysias, to bring them unto him. 3 Wherefore, when he knew it, he said, Let me not see their faces. 4 So his host slew them. Now when Demetrius was set upon the throne of his kingdom, 5 There came unto him all the wicked and ungodly men of Israel, having Alcimus, who was desirous to be high priest, for their captain. 6 And they accused the people to the king, saying, Judas and his brethren have slain all thy friends, and driven us out of our own land. 7 Now therefore send some man whom thou trustest, and let him go and see what havoc he hath made among us, and in the king's land, and let him punish them with all them that aid them. 8 Then the king chose Bacchides, a friend of the king, who ruled beyond the flood, and was a great man in the kingdom, and faithful to the king. 9 And him he sent with that wicked Alcimus, whom he made high priest, and commanded that he should take vengeance of the children of Israel. 10 So they departed, and came with a great power into the land of Judea, where they sent messengers to Judas and his brethren with peaceable words deceitfully. 11 But they gave no heed to their words, for they saw that they were come with a great power. 12 Then did there assemble unto Alcimus and Bacchides a company of scribes, to require justice. 13 Now the Assyrians were the first among the children of Israel that saw peace of them. 11 14 For said they, one that is a priest of the seed of Aaron is come with this army, and he will do us no wrong. 15 So he spake unto them, peaceably, and sware unto them, saying, We will procure the harm neither of you nor your friends. 16 Whereupon they believed him. Howbeit he took of them 60 men, and slew them in one day, according to the words which he wrote. 17 The flesh of thy saints have they cast out, and their blood have they shed round about Jerusalem, and there was none to bury them. 18 Wherefore the fear and dread of them fell upon all the people, who said, There is neither truth nor righteousness in them, for they have broken the covenant and oath that they made. 19 After this, removed Bacchides from Jerusalem, and pitched his tents in Bezeth, where he sent and took many of the men that had forsaken him, and certain of the people also, and when he had slain them, he cast them into the great pit. 20 Then committed he the country to Alcimus, and left with him a power to aid him. So Bacchides went to the king. 21 But Alcimus contended for the high priesthood. 22 And unto him resorted all such as troubled the people, who, after they had gotten the land of Judah into their power, did much hurt in Israel. 23 Now when Judas saw all the mischief that Alcimus and his company had done among the Israelites, even above the heathen. 24 He went out into all the coasts of Judea round about, and took vengeance of them that had revolted from him, so that they durst no more go forth into the country. 25 On the other side, when Alcimus saw that Judas and his company had gotten the upper hand, and knew that he was not able to abide their force, he went again to the king, and said all the worst of them that he could. 26 Then the king sent Nicanor, one of his honorable princes, a man that bare deadly hate unto Israel, with commandment to destroy the people. 27 So Nicanor came to Jerusalem with a great force, and sent unto Judas and his brethren deceitfully with friendly words, saying, 28 Let there be no battle between me and you. I will come with a few men, that I may see you in peace. 29 He came therefore to Judas, and they saluted one another peaceably. Howbeit the enemies were prepared to take away Judas by violence. 30 Which thing after it was known to Judas, to wit, that he came unto him with deceit, he was sore afraid of him, and would see his face no more. 31 Nicanor also, when he saw that his counsel was discovered, went out to fight against Judas beside Capharsalama. 32 Where there was slain of Nicanor's side about 5,000 men, and the rest fled into the city of David. 33 After this went Nicanor up to Mount Sion, and there came out of the sanctuary certain of the priests and certain of the elders of the people, to salute him peaceably, and to show him the burnt sacrifice that was offered for the king. 34 But he mocked them, and laughed at him, and abused them shamefully, and spake proudly. 35 And sware in his wrath, saying, Unless Judas and his host be now delivered into my hands, if ever I come again in safety, I will burn up this house. And with that he went out in a great rage. 36 Then the priests entered in, and stood before the altar and the temple, weeping, and saying, 37 Thou, O Lord, didst choose this house to be called by thy name, and to be a house of prayer and petition for thy people. 38 Be avenged of this man and his host, and let them fall by the sword. Remember their blasphemies, and suffer them not to continue any longer. 39 So Nicanor went out of Jerusalem, and pitched his tents in Bethoron, where an host out of Syria met him. 40 But Judas pitched in Adasa with 3,000 men, and there he prayed, saying, 41 O Lord, when they that were sent from the king of the Assyrians blasphemed, thine angel went out, and smote 185,000 of them. 42 Even so destroy thou this host before us this day, that the rest may know that he hath spoken blasphemously against thy sanctuary, and judge thou him according to his wickedness. 43 So the 13th day of the month Adar the hosts joined battle, but Nicanor's host was discomfited, and he himself was first slain in the battle. 44 Now when Nicanor's host saw that he was slain, they cast away their weapons, and fled. 45 Then they pursued after them a day's journey, from Adasa unto Gezerah, sounding an alarm after them with their trumpets. 46 Whereupon they came forth out of all the towns of Judea round about, and closed them in, so that they, turning back upon them that pursued them, were all slain with the sword, and not one of them was left. 47 Afterwards they took the spoils, and the prey, and smote off Nicanor's head, and his right hand, which he stretched out so proudly, and brought him away, and hanged him up toward Jerusalem. 48 For this cause the people rejoiced greatly, and they kept that day a day of great gladness. 49 Moreover they ordained to keep yearly this day, being the 13th of Adar. 50 Thus the land of Judah was in rest a little while. Chapter 8:1 Now Judas had heard of the Romans, that they were mighty and valiant men, and such as would lovingly accept all that joined themselves unto them, and make a league of amity with all that came unto them. 2 And that they were men of great valor. From Adasa unto Gezerah, sounding an alarm after them with their trumpets. 44 Now when Nicanor's host saw that he was slain, they cast away their weapons, and fled. 45 Then they pursued after them a day's journey, from Adasa unto Gezerah, sounding an alarm after them with their trumpets. 46 Whereupon they came forth out of all the towns of Judea round about, and closed them in, so that they, turning back upon them that pursued them, were all slain with the sword, and not one of them was left. 47 Afterwards they took the spoils, and the prey, and smote off Nicanor's head, and his right hand, which he stretched out so proudly, and brought him away, and hanged him up toward Jerusalem. 48 For this cause the people rejoiced greatly, and they kept that day a day of great gladness. 49 Moreover they ordained to keep yearly this day, being the 13th of Adar. 50 Thus the land of Judah was in rest a little while. Chapter 8:1 Now Judas had heard of the Romans, that they were mighty and valiant men, and such as would lovingly accept all that joined themselves unto them, and make a league of amity with all that came unto them. 2 And that they were men of great valor. It was told him also of their wars and noble acts which they had done among the Galatians, and how they had conquered them, and brought them under tribute. 3 And what they had done in the country of Spain, for the winning of the mines of the silver and gold which is there. 4 And that by their policy and patience they had conquered all the place, though it were very far from them, and the kings also that came against him from the uttermost part of the earth, till they had discomfited them, and given them a great overthrow, so that the rest did give them tribute every year. 12. 5 Beside this, how they had discomfited in battle Philip, and Perseus, king of the Cittims, with others that lifted up themselves against them, and had overcome them. 6 How also Antiochus the great king of Asia, that came against them in battle, having 120 elephants, with horsemen, and chariots, and a very great army, was discomfited by them. 7 And how they took him alive, and covenanted that he and such as reigned after him should pay a great tribute, and give hostages, and that which was agreed upon. 8 And the country of India, and Media and Lydia and of the goodliest countries, which they took of him, and gave to King Eumenes. 9 Moreover how the Grecians had determined to come and destroy them. 10 And that they, having knowledge thereof, sent against them a certain captain, and fighting with them slew many of them, and carried away captives their wives and their children, and spoiled them, and took possession of their lands, and pulled down their strongholds, and brought them to be their servants unto this day. 11 It was told him besides, how they destroyed and brought under their dominion all other kingdoms and isles that at any time resisted them. 12 But with their friends and such as relied upon them they kept amity, and that they had conquered kingdoms both far and nigh, insomuch as all that heard of their name were afraid of them. 13 Also that, whom they would help to a kingdom, those reign, and whom again they displace. Finally, that they were greatly exalted. 14 Yet for all this none of them wore a crown or was clothed in purple, to be magnified thereby. 15 Moreover how they had made for themselves a senate house, wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting alway for the people, to the end they might be well ordered. 16 And that they committed their government to one man every year, who ruled over all their country, and that all were obedient to that one, and that there was neither envy nor emulation among them. 17 In consideration of these things, Judas chose Eupolemus the son of John, the son of Achos, and Jason the son of Eleazar, and sent him to Rome, to make a league of amity and confederacy with him. 18 And to entreat them that they would take the yoke from them, for they saw that the kingdom of the Grecians did oppress Israel with servitude. 19 They went therefore to Rome, which was a very great journey, and came into the Senate, where they spake and said, 20 Judas Maccabeus with his brethren, and the people of the Jews, have sent us unto you, to make a confederacy and peace with you, and that we might be registered your confederates and friends. 21 So that matter pleased the Romans well. 22 And this is the copy of the epistle which the Senate wrote back again in tables of brass, and sent to Jerusalem, that there they might have by them a memorial of peace and confederacy. 23 Good success be to the Romans, and to the people of the Jews, by sea and by land forever. The sword also an enemy be far from him. 24 If there come first any war upon the Romans or any of their confederates throughout all their dominion, 25 The people of the Jews shall help them, as the time shall be appointed, with all their heart. 26 Neither shall they give anything unto them that make war upon them, or aid them with victuals, weapons, money, or ships, as it hath seemed good unto the Romans. But they shall keep their covenants without taking anything. Therefore, 27 In the same manner also, if war come first upon the nation of the Jews, the Romans shall help them with all their heart, according as the time shall be appointed them. 28 Neither shall victuals be given to them that take part against them, or weapons, or money, or ships, as it hath seemed good to the Romans. But they shall keep their covenants, and that without deceit. 29 According to these articles did the Romans make a covenant with the people of the Jews. 30 Howbeit if hereafter the one party or the other shall think to meet to add or diminish anything, they may do it at their pleasures, and whatsoever they shall add or take away shall be ratified. 31 And as touching the evils that Demetrius doth to the Jews, we have written unto him, saying, Wherefore thou made thy yoke heavy upon our friends and confederates the Jews. 32 If therefore they complain any more against thee, we will do them justice, and fight with thee by sea and by land. Chapter 9 1 Furthermore, when Demetrius heard that Nicanor and his host were slain in battle, he sent Bacchides and Alcimus into the land of Judea the second time, and with them the chief strength of his host. 2 Who went forth by the way that leadeth to Galgala, and pitched their tents before Massileth, which is in Arbela, and after they had won it, they slew much people. 3 Also the first month of the 152nd year they encamped before Jerusalem. 4 From whence they removed, and went to Berea, with 20,000 footmen and 2,000 horsemen. 5 Now Judas had pitched his tents at Elasa, and 3,000 chosen men with him. 6 Who seeing the multitude of the other army to he so great were sore afraid, whereupon many conveyed themselves out of the host, insomuch as abode of them no more but 800 men. 7 When Judas therefore saw that his host slipped away, and that the battle pressed upon him, he was sore troubled in mind, and much distressed, for that he had no time to gather them together. 8 Nevertheless unto them that remained he said, Let us arise and go up against our enemies, if peradventure we may be able to fight with them. 9 But they dehorted him, saying, We shall never be able. Let us now rather save our lives, and hereafter we will return with our brethren, and fight against them, for we are but few. 10 Then Judas said, God forbid that I should do this thing, and flee away from them. If our time be come, let us die manfully for our brethren, and let us not stain our honor. 13. 11 With that the host of Bacchides removed out of their tents, and stood over against them, their horsemen being divided into 2 troops, and their slingers and archers going before the host and they that marched in. The forward were all mighty men. 12 As for Bacchides, he was in the right wing. So the host drew near on the 2 parts, and sounded their trumpets. 13 They also of Judas' side, even they sounded their trumpets also, so that the earth shook at the noise of the armies, and the battle continued from morning till night. 14 Now when Judas perceived that Bacchides and the strength of his army were on the right side, he took with him all the hardy men, 15 who discomfited the right wing, and pursued them unto the Mount Azotus. 16 But when they of the left wing saw that they of the right wing were discomfited, they followed upon Judas and those that were with him hard at the heels from behind. 17 Whereupon there was a sore battle, insomuch as many were slain on both parts. 18 Judas also was killed, and the remnant fled. 19 Then Jonathan and Simon took Judas their brother, and buried him in the sepulchre of his fathers in Modin. 20 Moreover they bewailed him, and all Israel made great lamentation for him, and mourned many days, saying, 21 How is the valiant man fallen, that delivered Israel? 22 As for the other things concerning Judas and his wars, and the noble acts which he did, and his greatness, they are not written, for they were very many. 23 Now after the death of Judas the wicked began to put forth their heads in all the coasts of Israel, and there arose up all such as wrought iniquity. 24 In those days also was there a very great famine, by reason whereof the country revolted, and went with them. 25 Then Bacchides chose the wicked men, and made them lords of the country. 26 And they made inquiry and search for Judas' friends, and brought them unto Bacchides, who took vengeance of them, and used them despitefully. 27 So was there a great affliction in Israel, the like whereof was not since the time that a prophet was not seen among them. 28 For this cause all Judas' friends came together, and said unto Jonathan, 29 Since thy brother Judas died, we have no man like him to go forth against our enemies, and Bacchides, and against them of our nation that are adversaries to us. 30 Now therefore we have chosen thee this day to be our prince and captain in his stead, that thou mayest fight our battles. 31 Upon this Jonathan took the governance upon him at that time, and rose up instead of his brother Judas. 32 But when Bacchides gat knowledge thereof, he sought for to slay him. 33 Then Jonathan, and Simon his brother, and all that were with him, perceiving that, fled into the wilderness of Thecco, and pitched their tents by the water of the pool Asphar. 34 Which when Bacchides understood, he came near to Jordan with all his host upon the Sabbath day. 35 Now Jonathan had sent his brother John, a captain of the people, to pray his friends the Nabathites, that they might leave with them their carriage, which was much. 36 But the children of Jambri came out of Medaba, and took John, and all that he had, and went their way with it. 37 After this came word to Jonathan and Simon his brother, that the children of Jambri made a great marriage, and were bringing the bride from Nedabatha with a great train, as being the daughter of one of the great princes of Chanaan. 38 Therefore they remembered John their brother, and went up, and hid themselves under the covert of the mountain. 39 Where they lifted up their eyes, and looked, and, behold, there was much ado and great carriage. And the bridegroom came forth, and his friends and brethren, to meet them with drums, and instruments of music, and many weapons. 40 Then Jonathan and they that were with him rose up against him from the place where they lay in ambush, and made a slaughter of them in such sort, as many fell down dead, and the remnant fled into the mountain, and they took all their spoils. 41 Thus was the marriage turned into mourning, and the noise of their melody into lamentation. 42 So when they had avenged fully the blood of their brother, they turned again to the marsh of Jordan. 43 Now when Bacchides heard hereof, he came on the Sabbath day unto the banks of Jordan with a great power. 44 Then Jonathan said to his company, Let us go up now and fight for our lives, for it standeth not with us today, as in time past. 45 For, behold, the battle is before us and behind us, and the water of Jordan on this side and that side, the marsh likewise and wood, neither is there place for us to turn aside. 46 Wherefore cry ye now unto heaven, that ye may be delivered from the hand of your enemies. 47 With that they joined battle, and Jonathan stretched forth his hand to smite Bacchides, but he turned back from him. 48 Then Jonathan and they that were with him leapt into Jordan, and swam over unto the other bank, howbeit the other passed not over Jordan unto them. 49 So there was slain of Bacchides' side that day about 1,000 men. 50 Afterward returned Bacchides to Jerusalem and repaired the strong sites in Judea, the fort in Jericho, and Emmaus, and Bethoron, and Bethel, and Thamnatha, Pharathoni, and Taphorn. These did he strengthen with high walls, with gates and with bars. 51 And in them he set a garrison, that they might work malice upon Israel. 52 He fortified also the city Bethsura, and Gezerah, and the tower, and put forces in him, and provision of victuals. 53 Besides, he took the chief men's sons in the country for hostages, and put them into the tower at Jerusalem to be kept. 54 Moreover in the 153rd year, in the 2nd month, Alcimus commanded that the wall of the inner court of the sanctuary should be pulled down. He pulled down also the works of the prophets 55 And as he began to pull down, even at that time was Alcimus plagued, and his enterprises hindered, for his mouth was stopped, and he was taken with a palsy, so that he could no more speak anything, nor give order concerning his house. 56 Sir Alcimus died at that time with great torment. 14. 57 Now when Bacchides saw that Alcimus was dead, he returned to the king, whereupon the land of Judea was in rest 2 years. 58 Then all the ungodly men held a council, saying, Behold, Jonathan and his company are at ease, and dwell without care. Now therefore we will bring Bacchides hither, who shall take them all in one night. 59 So they went and consulted with him. 60 Then removed he, and came with a great host, and sent letters privily to his adherents in Judea, that they should take Jonathan and those that were with him. Howbeit they could not, because their counsel was known unto them. 61 Wherefore they took of the men of the country, that were authors of that mischief, about 50 persons, and slew them. 62 Afterward Jonathan, and Simon, and they that were with him, got him away to Bethbarsi, which is in the wilderness, and they repaired the decays thereof, and made it strong. 63 Which thing when Bacchides knew, he gathered together all his host, and sent word to them that were of Judea. 64 Then went he and laid siege against Beth-Barsi, and they fought against it a long season and made engines of war. 65 But Jonathan left his brother Simon in the city, and went forth himself into the country, and with a certain number went he forth. 66 And he smote Odonarchs and his brethren, and the children of Phaseron in their tent. 67 And when he began to smite them, and came up with his forces, Simon and his company went out of the city, and burned up the engines of war. 68 And fought against Bacchides, who was discomfited by them, and they afflicted him sore, for his counsel and travail was in vain. 69 Wherefore he was very wroth at the wicked men that gave him counsel to come into the country, inasmuch as he slew many of them, and purposed to return into his own country. 70 Whereof when Jonathan had knowledge, he sent ambassadors unto him, to the end he should make peace with him, and deliver them the prisoners. 71 Which thing he accepted, and did according to his demands, and sware unto him that he would never do him harm all the days of his life. 72 When therefore he had restored unto him the prisoners that he had taken aforetime out of the land of Judea, he returned and went his way into his own land, neither came he any more into their borders. 73 Thus the sword ceased from Israel, but Jonathan dwelt at Maccabees, and began to govern the people, and he destroyed the ungodly men out of Israel. Chapter 10:1 In the 160th year Alexander, the son of Antiochus surnamed Epiphanes, went up and took Ptolemais, for the people had received him, by means whereof he reigned there. 2 Now when King Demetrius heard thereof, he gathered together an exceeding great host, and went forth against him to fight. 3 Moreover Demetrius sent letters unto Jonathan with loving words, so as he magnified him. 4 For said he, Let us first make peace with him, before he join with Alexander against us. 5 Else he will remember all the evils that we have done against him, and against his brethren and his people. 6 Wherefore he gave him authority to gather together an host, and to provide weapons, that he might aid him in battle. He commanded also that the hostages that were in the tower should be delivered him. 7 Then came Jonathan to Jerusalem, and read the letters in the audience of all the people, and of them that were in the tower. 8 Who was sore afraid, when they heard that the king had given him authority to gather together an host. 9 Whereupon they of the tower delivered their hostages unto Jonathan, and he delivered them unto their parents. 10 This done, Jonathan settled himself in Jerusalem, and began to build and repair the city. 11 And he commanded the workmen to build the walls and the Mount Sion and about with square stones for fortification, and they did so. 12 Then the strangers, that were in the fortresses which Bacchides had built, fled away. 13 Insomuch as every man left his place, and went into his own country. 14 Only at Bethsura certain of those that had forsaken the law and the commandments remained still, for it was their place of refuge. 15 Now when King Alexander had heard what promises Demetrius had sent unto Jonathan, when also it was told him of the battles and noble acts which he and his brethren had done, and of the pains that they had endured, 16 He said, Shall we find such another man? Now therefore we will make him our friend and confederate. 17 Upon this he wrote a letter, and sent it unto him, according to these words, saying, 18 King Alexander to his brother Jonathan sendeth greeting. 19 We have heard of thee, that thou art a man of great power, and meet to be our friend. 20 Wherefore now this day we ordain thee to be the high priest of thy nation, and to be called the king's friend. And therewithal he sent him a purple robe and a crown of gold smiley face. And require thee to take our part, and keep friendship with us. 21 So in the 7th month of the 160th year, at the feast of the tabernacles, Jonathan put on the holy robe, and gathered together forces, and provided much armor. 22 Whereof when Demetrius heard, he was very sorry, and said, 23 What have we done, that Alexander hath prevented us in making amity with the Jews to strengthen himself? 24 I also will write unto them words of encouragement, and promise them dignities and gifts, that I may have their aid. 25 He sent unto them therefore to this effect, King Demetrius unto the people of the Jews sendeth greeting. 26 Whereas ye have kept covenants with us, and continued in our friendship, not joining yourselves with our enemies, we have heard hereof, and are glad. Wherefore now continue ye still to be faithful unto us, and we will well recompense you for the things ye do in our behalf. 15. 28 And will grant you many immunities, and give you rewards. 29 And now do I free you, and for your sake I release all the Jews, from tributes, and from the customs of salt, and from crown taxes. 30 And from that which appertaineth unto me to receive for the third Unto us, and we will well recompense. 27 Wherefore now continue ye still to be faithful unto us, and we will well recompense you for the things ye do in our behalf. 15. 28 And will grant you many immunities, and give you rewards. 29 And now do I free you, and for your sake I release all the Jews, from tributes, and from the customs of salt, and from crown taxes. 30 And from that which appertaineth unto me to receive for the third. Still to be faithful unto 27 Wherefore now continue ye still to be faithful unto us, and we will well recompense you for the things ye do in our behalf. 15. 28 And will grant you many immunities, and give you rewards. 29 And now do I free you, and for your sake I release all the Jews, from tributes, and from the customs of salt, and from crown taxes. 30 And from that which appertaineth unto me to receive for the third. Ye still to be faithful unto us, and we will well recompense you for the things ye do in our behalf. 15. 28 And will grant you many immunities, and give you rewards. 29 And now do I free you, and for your sake I release all the Jews, from tributes, and from the customs of salt, and from crown taxes. 30 And from that which appertaineth unto me to receive for the third. And we will well recompense you and free, with the borders thereof, both from 10. 31 Let Jerusalem also be holy and free, with the borders thereof, both from tenths and tributes. 32 And as for the tower which is at Jerusalem, I yield up authority over it, and give the high priest, that he may set in it such men as he shall choose to keep it. 33 Moreover I freely set at liberty every one of the Jews, that were carried captives out of the land of Judea into any part of my kingdom, and I will that all my officers remit the tributes even of their cattle. Set at liberty every one of the Jews, that were carried captives out of the land of Judea into any part of my kingdom, and I will that all my officers remit the tributes even of their cattle. 34 Furthermore I will that all the feasts, and Sabbaths, and new moons, and solemn days, and the 3 days before the feast, and the 3 days after the feast shall be all of immunity and freedom for all the Jews in my realm. 35 Also no man shall have authority to meddle with or to molest any of them in any matter. 36 I will further, that there be enrolled among the king's forces about 30,000 men of the Jews, unto whom pay shall be given, as Belingeth to all king's forces. 35 Also no man shall have authority to meddle with or to molest any of them in any matter. 36 I will further, that there be enrolled among the king's forces about 30,000 men of the Jews, unto whom pay shall be given, as Belingeth to all king's forces. 37 And of them some shall be placed in the king's strongholds, of whom also some shall be set over the affairs of the kingdom, which are of trust. And I will that their overseers and governors be of themselves, and that they live after their own laws, even as the king hath commanded in the land of Judea. 38 And concerning the 3 governments that are added to Judea from the country of Samaria, let them be joined with Judea, that they may be reckoned to be under one, nor bound to obey other authority than the high priests. Governments that are added to Judea from the country of Samaria, let them be joined with Judea, that they may be reckoned to be under one, nor bound to obey other authority than the high priests. 39 As for Ptolemais, and the land pertaining thereto, I give it as a free gift to the sanctuary at Jerusalem for the necessary expenses of the sanctuary. 40 Moreover I give every year 15,000 shekels of silver out of the king's accounts from the places appertaining. 39 As for Ptolemais, and the land pertaining thereto, I give it as a free gift to the sanctuary at Jerusalem for the necessary expenses of the sanctuary. 40 Moreover I give every year 15,000 shekels of silver out of the king's accounts from the places appertaining. 41 And all the overplus, which the officers paid not in as in former time, from henceforth shall be given toward the works of the temple. 42 And beside this, the 5,000 shekels of silver, which they took from the uses of the temple out of the accounts year by year, even those things shall be released, because they appertain to the priests that minister. Offices paid not in as in former time, from henceforth shall be given toward the works of the temple. 42 And 41 And all the overplus, which the officers paid not in as in former time, from henceforth shall be given toward the works of the temple. 42 And beside this, the 5,000 shekels of silver, which they took from the uses of the temple out of the accounts year by year, even those things shall be released, because they appertain to the priests that minister. 43 And whosoever they be that flee unto the temple at Jerusalem, or be within the liberties hereof, being indebted unto the king, or for any other matter, let them be at liberty, and all that they have in my realm. 44 For the building also and repairing of the works of the sanctuary expenses shall be given of the king's accounts. 45 Yea, and for the building of the walls of Jerusalem, and the fortifying thereof round about, expenses shall be given out of the king's accounts, as also for the building of the walls in Judea. 46 Now when Jonathan and the people heard these words, they gave no credit unto them, nor received them, because they remembered the great evil that he had done in Israel, for he had afflicted them very sore. 47 But with Alexander they were well pleased, because he was the first that entreated of true peace with them, and they were confederate with him always. 48 Then gathered King Alexander great forces, and camped over against Demetrius. 49 And after the two kings had joined battle, Demetrius' host fled, but Alexander followed after him, and prevailed against them. 50 And he continued the battle very sore until the sun went down, and that day was Demetrius slain. 51 Afterward Alexander sent ambassadors to Ptolemy king of Egypt with a message to this effect, 52 Forasmuch as I am come again to my realm, and am set in the throne of my progenitors, and have gotten the dominion, and overthrown Demetrius, and recovered our country, 53 For after I had joined battle with him, both he and his host was discomfited by us, so that we sit in the throne of his kingdom. 54 Now therefore let us make a league of amity together, and give me now thy daughter to wife, and I will be thy son-in-law, and will give both thee and her as according to thy dignity. 55 Then Ptolemy the king gave answer, saying, Happy be the day wherein thou didst return into the land of thy fathers, and sattest in the throne of their kingdom. 56 And now will I do to thee, as thou hast written, Meet me therefore at Ptolemy's, that we may see one another, for I will marry my daughter to thee according to thy desire. 57 So Ptolemy went out of Egypt with his daughter Cleopatra, and they came unto Ptolemy's in the 162nd year. 58 Where King Alexander meeting him, he gave unto him his daughter Cleopatra, and celebrated her marriage at Ptolemy's with great glory, as the manner of kings is. 59 Now King Alexander had written unto Jonathan, that he should come and meet him. 60 Who thereupon went honorably to Ptolemy's, where he met the two kings, and gave them and their friends silver and gold, and many presents, and found favor in their sight. 61 At that time certain pestilent fellows of Israel, men of a wicked life, assembled themselves against him, to accuse him, but the king would not hear them. 62 Yea, more than that, the king commanded to take off his garments, and clothe him in purple, and they did so. 63 And he made him sit by himself, and said unto his princes, Go with him into the midst of the city, and make proclamation, that no man complain against him of any matter, and that no man trouble him for any manner of cause. 64 Now when his accusers saw that he was honored according to the proclamation, and clothed in purple, they fled all away. 65 So the king honored him, and wrote him among his chief friends, and made him a duke, and partaker of his dominion. 66 Afterward Jonathan returned to Jerusalem with peace and gladness. 67 Furthermore in the 165th year came Demetrius son of Demetrius out of Crete into the land of his fathers. 68 Whereof when King Alexander heard tell, he was right sorry, and returned into Antioch. 69 Then Demetrius made Apollonius the governor of Seleucia his general, who gathered together a great host, and camped in Jamnia, and sent unto Jonathan the high priest, saying, 70 Thou alone liftest up thyself against us, and I am laughed to scorn for thy sake, and reproached. And why dost thou vaunt thy power against us in the mountains? 71 Now therefore, if thou trustest in thine own strength, come down to us into the plain field, and there let us try the matter together, for with me is the power of the cities. 72 Ask and learn who I am, and the rest that take our part, and they shall tell thee that thy foot is not able to flight in their own land. 73 Wherefore now thou shalt not be able to abide the horsemen and so great a power in the plain, where is neither stone nor flint, nor place to flee unto. 74 So when Jonathan heard these words of Apollonius, he was moved in his mind, and choosing 10,000 men he went out of Jerusalem, where Simon his brother met him for to help him. 75 And he pitched his tents against Joppa, but they of Joppa shut him out of the city, because Apollonius had a garrison there. 76 Then Jonathan laid siege unto it, whereupon they of the city let him in for fear, and so Jonathan won Joppa. 77 Whereof when Apollonius heard, he took 3,000 horsemen, with a great host of footmen, and went to Azotus as one that journeyed, and therewithal drew him forth into the plain. Because he had a great number of horsemen, in whom he put his trust. 78 Then Jonathan followed after him to Azotus, where the armies joined battle. 79 Now Apollonius had left 1,000 horsemen in ambush. 80 And Jonathan knew that there was an ambushment behind him, for they had compassed in his host, and cast darts at the people, from morning till evening. 81 But the people stood still, as Jonathan had commanded them, and so the enemy's horses were tired. 82 Then brought Simon forth his host, and set them against the footmen, for the horsemen were spent, who were discomfited by him, and fled. 83 The horsemen also, being scattered in the field, fled to Azotus, and went into Bethdagon, their idol's temple, for safety. 84 But Jonathan set fire on Azotus, and the cities round about it, and took their spoils, and the temple of Dagon, with them that were fled into it, he burned with fire. 85 Thus there were burned and slain with the sword well nigh 8,000 men. 86 And from thence Jonathan removed his host, and camped against Askelon, where the men of the city came forth, and met him with great pomp. 87 After this returned Jonathan and his host unto Jerusalem, having any spoils. 88 Now when King Alexander heard these things, he honored Jonathan yet more. 89 And sent him a buckle of gold, as the use is to be given to such as are of the king's blood. He gave him also a Coron with the borders thereof in possession. Chapter 11 1 And the king of Egypt gathered together a great host, like the sand that leath upon the sea shore, and many ships, and went about through deceit to get Alexander's kingdom, and join it to his own. 2 Whereupon he took his journey into Spain in peaceable manner, so as they of the cities opened unto him, and met him, for King Alexander had commanded them so to do, because he was his brother-in-law. 3 Now as Ptolemy entered into the cities, he set in every one of them a garrison of soldiers to keep it. 4 And when he came near to Azotus, they showed him the temple of Dagon that was burnt, and Azotus and the suburbs thereof that were destroyed, and the bodies that were cast abroad and them that he had burnt in the battle, for they had made heaps of them by the way where he should pass. 5 Also they told the king whatsoever Jonathan had done, to the intent he might blame him, but the king held his peace. 6 Then Jonathan met the king with great pomp at Joppa, where they saluted one another, and lodged. 7 Afterward Jonathan, when he had gone with the king to the river called Eleutherus, returned again to Jerusalem. 8 King Ptolemy therefore, having gotten the dominion of the cities by the sea unto Seleucia upon the sea coast, imagined wicked counsels against Alexander. 9 Whereupon he sent ambassadors unto King Demetrius, saying, Come, let us make a league betwixt us, and I will give thee my daughter whom Alexander hath, and thou shalt reign in thy father's kingdom. 10 For I repent that I gave my daughter unto him, for he sought to slay me. 11 Thus did he slander him, because he was desirous of his kingdom. 12 Wherefore he took his daughter from him, and gave her to Demetrius, and forsook Alexander, so that their hatred was openly known. 13 Then Ptolemy entered into Antioch, where he set 2 crowns upon his head, the crown of Asia, and of Egypt. 14 In the mean season was King Alexander in Cilicia, because those that dwelt in those parts had revolted from him. 15 But when Alexander heard of this, he came to war against him, whereupon King Ptolemy brought forth his host, and met him with a mighty power, and put him to flight. 16 Sir Alexander fled into Arabia there to be defended, but King Ptolemy was exalted. 17 For Zabdiel the Arabian took off Alexander's head, and sent it unto Ptolemy. 18 King Ptolemy also died the 3rd day after, and they that were in the strongholds were slain one of another. 19 By this means Demetrius reigned in the 167th year. 20 At the same time Jonathan gathered together them that were in Judea to take the tower that was in Jerusalem, and he made many engines of war against it. 17 21 Then came ungodly persons, who hated their own people, went unto the king, and told him that Jonathan besieged the tower. 22 Whereof when he heard, he was angry, and immediately removing, he came to Ptolemais, and wrote unto Jonathan, that he should not lay siege to the tower, but come and speak with him at Ptolemais in great haste. 23 Nevertheless Jonathan, when he heard this, commanded to besiege it still. And he chose certain of the elders of Israel and the priests, and put himself in peril. 24 And took silver and gold, and raiment, and divers presents besides, and went to Ptolemais unto the king, where he found favor in his sight. 25 And though certain ungodly men of the people had made complaints against him, 26 Yet the king entreated him as his predecessors had done before, and promoted him in the sight of all his friends. 27 And confirmed him in the high priesthood, and in all the honors that he had before, and gave him preeminence among his chief friends. 28 Then Jonathan desired the king, that he would make Judea free from tribute, as also the 3 governments, with the country of Samaria, and he promised him 300 talents. 29 So the king consented, and wrote letters unto Jonathan of all these things after this manner. 30 King Demetrius unto his brother Jonathan, and unto the nation of the Jews, sendeth greeting. 31 We send you here a copy of the letter which we did write unto our cousin Lasthenes concerning you, that ye might see it. 32 King Demetrius unto his father Lasthenes sendeth greeting. 33 We are determined to do good to the people of the Jews, who are our friends, and keep covenants with us, because of their goodwill toward us. 34 Wherefore we have ratified unto them the borders of Judea, with the 3 governments of Ephraim and Lydda and Ramatham, that are added unto Judea from the country of Samaria, and all things appertaining unto them, for all such as do sacrifice in Jerusalem, instead of the payments which the king received of them yearly aforetime out of the fruits of the earth and of trees. 35 And as for other things that belong unto us, of the tithes and customs pertaining unto us, as also the salt pits, and the crown taxes, which are due unto us, we discharge them of them all for their relief. 36 And nothing hereof shall be revoked from this time forth forever. 37 Now therefore see that thou make a copy of these things, and let it be delivered unto Jonathan, and set upon the holy mount in a conspicuous place. 38 After this, when King Demetrius saw that the land was quiet before him, and that no resistance was made against him, he sent away all his forces, every one to his own place, except certain bands of strangers, whom he had gathered from the isles of the heathen, wherefore all the forces of his fathers hated him. 39 Moreover there was one Tryphon, that had been of Alexander's part of 4, who, seeing that all the host murmured against Demetrius, went to Samalcu the Arabian that brought up Antiochus the young son of Alexander, 40 And lay sore upon him to deliver him this young Antiochus, that he might reign in his father's stead. He told him therefore all that Demetrius had done, and how his men of war were at enmity with him, and there he remained a long season. 41 In the meantime Jonathan sent unto King Demetrius, that he would cast those of the tower out of Jerusalem, and those also in the fortresses, for they fought against Israel. 42 So Demetrius sent unto Jonathan, saying, I will not only do this for thee and thy people, but I will greatly honor thee and thy nation, if opportunity serve. 43 Now therefore thou shalt do well, if thou send me men to help me, for all my forces are gone from me. 44 Upon this Jonathan sent him 3,000 strong men unto Antioch, and when they came to the king was very glad of their coming. 45 Howbeit they that were of the city gathered themselves together into the midst of the city, to the number of 120,000 men, and would have slain the king. 44 Upon this Jonathan sent him 3,000 strong men unto Antioch, and when they came to the king was very glad of their coming. 45 Howbeit they that were of the city gathered themselves together into the midst of the city, to the number of 120,000 men, and would have slain the king. 46 Wherefore the king fled into the court, but they of the city kept the passages of the city, and began to fight. 47 Then the king called to the Jews for help, who came unto him all at once, and dispersing themselves through the city slew that day in the city to the number of 100,000. 46 Wherefore the king fled into the court, but they of the city kept the passages of the city, and began to fight. 47 Then the king called to the Jews for help, who came unto him all at once, and dispersing themselves through the city slew that day in the city to the number of 100,000. 48 Also they set fire on the city, and gat many spoils that day, and delivered the king. 49 So when they of the city saw that the Jews had got the city as they would, their courage was abated, wherefore they made supplication to the king, and cried, saying, 50 Grant us peace, and let the Jews cease from assaulting us in the city. On the city, and gat many spoils that day, and delivered the king. 49 So when they of the city saw that the Jews had got the city as they would, their courage was abated, wherefore they made supplication to the king, and cried, saying, 50 Grant us peace, and let the Jews cease from assaulting us in the city.
So thank you for listening. We pray that you're blessed by the book of Maccabees and every other book that you have listened to. Thank you. If you have not subscribed to this channel, help us to subscribe, and may God continue to bless you. Have a nice day. Thank you. God bless. Shalom.